Chapter 53:16. Remember. Sister Hong and Auntie Cheng sat in the front while little Maro drove. Now that Xiao Maro was married, he looked much more mature and steady. As he drove, he talked to Sister Hong about the changes in B City over the past few years. Master Cheng didn't say anything and just listened to little Maro talk to her. Little Yu also listened with his eyes wide open, a little entranced. Sister Hong lowered her head to look at her son, then smiled and said to little Maro, "Little Yu likes to talk to you." Master Cheng said gruffly, "He doesn't like it when I talk." Sister Hong rolled her eyes. "Cheng Jing, can you not be so rude in front of our son? Don't lead him astray. Didn't we split the son in half? Without my contribution, would you have such a cute son?" Master Cheng said arrogantly. Then, he turned his head. "Yu, don't you think so?" Little Yu looked at him and smiled faintly. Master Cheng wanted to hug his son and kiss him again, but he was afraid that it would ruin his manliness. Boys had to be a little rougher and couldn't be raised like girls. His son looked a little too delicate. Master Cheng felt that he had to talk to Sister Hong about this. This wouldn't do. A man had to act like a man. Yu was as shy as a little girl. Until now, he hadn't said a word to his biological father. While Master Cheng was thinking, little Maro asked Sister Hong, "Are we driving to the apartment?" Sister Hong nodded. Little Maro said as if he was presenting a treasure, "Master Cheng thought so too. We've already cleaned the place." Master Cheng did it himself. Master Cheng felt especially embarrassed and glared at him. "You talk too much." Little Maro chuckled and didn't say anything else. Sister Hong was also silent, a little uncomfortable. She and Cheng Zheng had separated for 4 to 5 years and they hadn't been together since. Even if they had crossed paths, it was because of little Yu. Now that little Maro said this, the atmosphere was a little strange. In the end, it was Master Cheng who changed the topic. He had to punish little Maro later, this little bastard, for causing trouble for him. Little Yu didn't really understand adults, so he looked at his mother and didn't say a word. Master Cheng didn't mind. He straightened his clothes and said a few words. In any case, it was quite rude. The auntie whispered, "Miss Liu, Mr. Cheng really hasn't changed at all these years." She actually had a hidden meaning in her words. On one hand, she was saying that Master Cheng's temperament hadn't changed. On the other hand, she was saying that Master Cheng's heart hadn't changed. He was still pretending to be Sister Hong. Sister Hong glanced at her and said faintly, "Yeah, you're still the same as before." Master Cheng felt uncomfortable. Wasn't this saying that he was rude and uncultured? Master Cheng coughed lightly. "How could it not change? I'm even more charming than before. I'm surrounded by a bunch of women who want to marry me." Sister Hong smiled and said, "Congratulations, Master Cheng." Master Cheng chuckled and rubbed his head. "Same to you. Didn't you also bring a pretty boy back? Is he your boyfriend?" Sister Hong was so angry that she didn't want to reply. Instead, the auntie whispered, "What boyfriend?" "His Miss Liu's assistant. He's highly educated and handsome. He's only 24 years old. He's 1 year younger than Miss Liu." "That's impossible." Master Cheng looked interested. 1 year younger? Isn't that better? Don't many rich women like men younger than them? Sister Hong snorted. "Auntie said that you haven't changed at all." "She's right." Chapter 53:17. Master Cheng felt upset when he heard that. "That's not nice to hear. Liu Hong, you woman," he wanted to say something unpleasant, but Master Cheng thought that they hadn't seen each other for a few years. It was meaningless to quarrel with each other as soon as they met, so he shut his mouth. The car finally arrived in front of the apartment where Sister Hong lived. The car stopped, and Sister Hong received a phone call. It was by Anan. "You're here?" Sister Hong responded with a gentle voice. "Yes, I'm here. Let's contact each other later." She and Bai Anan were also familiar with each other under the introduction of Su Mu. Bai Anan had also been abroad for the past 2 years to raise a child. Bai Anan and Qin Xian had 2 children, but they had been divorced for 2 years. The reason was unknown. When Sister Hong was abroad, Anan often took care of her. The doctor was also introduced by Anan, so their relationship was very good. Her words attracted Master Cheng's attention. Master Cheng coughed lightly. Who is it this time? Life abroad is very exciting. Stop being so weird. It's Anan. Sister Hong said after hanging up the phone. She was a little dissatisfied with Master Cheng. Couldn't he restrain himself in front of his son? What was with all those words? Master Cheng touched his nose. He was a little upset. How did you know this woman? She's so fierce. In the legal world, Anan was the best. He just didn't know why Qin Xian would marry her. The two of them were a little incompatible. One was an elegant young master, and the other was a fierce female lawyer. Of course, their family background, education, and appearance were very compatible. However, they still divorced in the end. Master Cheng felt that it was a good divorce. He and Liu Hong didn't work together in all aspects, so it was normal for others to divorce. However, Master Cheng wouldn't reveal these dark thoughts. He snorted to show that he understood. Master Cheng carried little Yu. Sister Hong reminded him, he's already 4 years old. Let him walk by himself. Don't spoil him like this. Master Cheng had previously blamed her for raising her son like a little girl, but now he refused to let go. My son looks so delicate, what's wrong with hugging him a little longer? As he carried his son, he handed the cane to Xiao Maro and dragged his luggage himself. It was entirely to prove that he was awesome. It was not a problem at all to carry his son and drag his luggage. Master Cheng walked away in high spirits, but he accidentally bumped into a step. After all, his legs weren't very nimble, and he almost fell. Luckily, Sister Hong noticed that something was wrong and helped him up. Master Cheng was a little stunned. Then, he felt that he had lost face. He coughed lightly. It was an accident. Although he said that, he was still very concerned about it. Later on, he became much quieter. He was afraid that she would look down on him, afraid that his son would look down on his father. When they arrived at Sister Hong's apartment, Master Cheng said that he had something to deal with and left. Xiao Mao also followed. As soon as the door closed, the auntie whispered, Mr. Cheng's leg doesn't seem to be fully recovered. Did he leave because he was concerned? Sister Hong nodded. He does care quite a bit. He's still very prideful. The auntie wanted to say something, but she didn't have the right to do so. She sighed. At this moment, Sister Hong said, Auntie, I know you blame me for being heartless, but I can't blindly accommodate him just because he saved us. I can't take the initiative to tell him that we're together. She paused again. Even if we're together, it won't be good in the future. I know his character all too well. Chapter 53:18. Since Sister Hong said so, the auntie didn't say anything else. Marriage was between the two of them, and outsiders couldn't interfere. Sister Hong packed up her luggage. When she came out, she saw Yu playing in the living room. She went over and pulled the little boy over. Do you like it here? A smile appeared on little Yo-Yo's pretty little face. He nodded gently, looking especially cute. Sister Hong also smiled, but it was a little bitter. Yu still didn't want to talk. The doctor said that he was fine, but he was a little autistic. She reached out and touched the little boy's little head. She hoped that Yu would be better in City B. Moreover, Yu was already old enough to go to school. Sister Hong was hesitant now. She wanted to send Yu to school, but she was afraid that he would be discriminated against in school. But if she didn't go, she didn't know when Yu would be willing to talk, and she couldn't stay at home all the time. Every time she thought of this problem, she couldn't make up her mind. Originally, she wanted to discuss it with Cheng Zheng, but Cheng Zheng ran away quickly. She was angry and amused at the same time. She also felt a little sad. Cheng Zheng used to be so arrogant, unlike now, he was so indecisive. It wasn't that she couldn't see his inferiority complex. Sister Hong didn't think about it anymore. She picked up the little boy and said, Mommy will take you to sleep for a while. When you wake up, we'll eat, okay? Yu flew for more than 10 hours, but he didn't feel sleepy. But he was still a child, and his eyelids started to fight when he reached the bed. After a while, He fell asleep. Sister Hong had something on her mind, so she didn't sleep much. She leaned against the pillow and looked at her son. After some time, Cheng Zheng's voice came from outside. Sister Hong quietly got out of bed and walked out. Master Cheng rubbed his hands. "Where's our son?" "He fell asleep in the room," Sister Hong said softly. Then, she sat on the sofa and looked at Cheng Zheng. "Let's eat here later." She had to tell him about Yo-Yo's matter. Cheng Zheng was overjoyed. He couldn't help but think too much. After sitting down, he said, "Why? You didn't find a man you like overseas, and you think that Chinese men are better?" Sister Hong rolled her eyes. "If you continue to be so improper, you can leave." Master Cheng scratched his head and said, "All right, if there's anything you want to say, just say it." Sister Hong was a little embarrassed to say it. After thinking for a while, she decided to talk about school first. "Yu is 4 years old now. I want him to go to school in B City. What do you think?" Master Cheng slapped his thigh. Of course this is good. With their son by their side, they could look at him at any time. Who wouldn't want such a good thing? Sister Hong lowered her eyes. After a moment, she said softly, "I want him to go to a normal school." Master Cheng felt that there was something wrong with these words. What was a normal school? "Woman, I want to ask you, what's wrong with my son?" Master Cheng's face darkened as he stared at the woman in front of him. Sister Hong raised her eyes and quietly looked at Cheng Zheng. Very softly, she said, "He refused to speak." Master Cheng was stunned and repeated, "You don't want to speak? What kind of illness is this? Could he be a mute?" This was something that Master Cheng could not accept. How could he, Master Cheng, give birth to a child who was not healthy? Sister Hong turned her head to the side. "It's autism. She doesn't want to communicate with the outside world." "Cheng Zheng, until now, I haven't heard him call me mother." Master Cheng was completely stunned. "Not even for 4 years. I've been taking him abroad for treatment for the past few years, but it didn't work. The doctor said that bringing him back to the country might be good for his illness." Master Cheng's face was a little stiff. "You mean that you won't come back if Yu is not sick?" Sister Hong didn't want to lie to him. She nodded. "Yes, I won't come back for the time being." Master Cheng's heart was violently moving up and down. Only now did he know that the happiness of family, the soft-hearted her wanting to let the father and son meet, were all fake. It turned out that she had to come back because Yu was sick. A trace of blood appeared in Master Cheng's eyes. If it was in the past, he would probably have slammed the table. At this time, he was worried about his son, so he didn't yell at Sister Hong. After trying his best to control himself, Master Cheng suddenly stood up and left without looking back. He had to calm down and digest it. He still couldn't accept that Yu was sick. What a cute child he was. Chapter 53:19. Master Cheng returned to his apartment and sat there smoking in silence. He smoked a pack in one go. Xiao Maro poured a glass of water and placed it in front of him. He sighed softly. "Master Cheng, it's not good to smoke too much. It's not good for your lungs." Master Cheng's eyes were a little red. "Xiao Mao, do you know that my son has autism?" "I don't believe it. That little thing is so good-looking." Xiao Maro guessed that something had happened, but he didn't expect it to be such a big deal. Xiao Maro was silent for a moment and said softly, "Master Cheng, what do you plan to do?" Master Cheng pursed his lips. "What else can I do?" As he spoke, he let out a long sigh. "Actually, I really don't know what to do. Xiao Mao, tell me, what should I do?" Xiao Mao looked at Master Cheng. "Master Cheng, do you really want to know?" Master Cheng rolled his eyes at him and took another drag. "Go ahead." Little Maro sighed. "For this kind of thing, we can only let nature take its course. Letting the child grow up in a relaxed environment is more important than anything else." Master Cheng's eyes widened. "How did you know?" Xiao Maro smiled embarrassedly and scratched his head. "Because I was like this when I was young. I only started to talk when I was 7. Master Cheng slapped his thigh. "Xiao Mao, I didn't know you had such a glorious past." "All right, I got it. Master Cheng immediately stood up and wanted to go upstairs. However, he got up too fast and almost fell. He quickly used his cane to support himself. Xiao Maro wanted to help him up but didn't dare. He was afraid that Master Cheng would have other ideas. Master Cheng stabilized himself and went upstairs again. He knocked on the door and couldn't wait to tell his woman the news. If Xiao Maro could get better, their son could too. Xiao Maro said that he wanted to grow up in a relaxed environment. At most, he wouldn't yell at people in the future and win them over with virtue. His knocking naturally alarmed the auntie and Sister Hong. The auntie frowned. "Who is it? Why are you shouting so loudly?" Sister Hong and Yu were eating. Sister Hong smiled. "Who else besides Cheng Jing?" The auntie also smiled. "Mr. Cheng is very impatient." "That's true, but he's also very manly." Sister Hong knew that ever since that incident, her aunt had been speaking up for Cheng Zheng. She couldn't do anything about it, so she pretended not to hear it. The auntie opened the door. It was indeed Master Cheng. Master Cheng stuck his head out and swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He coughed lightly and said, "I'm eating." Sister Hong smiled. "That's right. I'm eating." Master Cheng scratched his head. "Then I'll accompany the child to eat." He didn't do it for this woman. He did it to accompany his child. Didn't Xiao Maro say that children needed the company of adults? Sister Hong smiled and didn't object. On the other hand, the auntie acted as if a son-in-law had come to the house and was extremely attentive. Sister Hong didn't know what to do with her. Seeing Master Cheng walk over, the auntie immediately pulled out a chair for him to sit down. She then scooped a bowl of rice for him and picked up some vegetables. Sister Hong was speechless and took another look at the auntie. The auntie was not afraid of her. Sister Hong continued to eat, but after a while, she raised her eyes and saw that little Yu was staring straight at Master Cheng. Master Cheng ate with big mouthfuls and said with a smile, "Son, smash." Yo-Yo's little face turned red and he lowered his head to eat. Master Cheng smiled again and reached out to pat Yo-Yo's little head. "This child really takes after me. He's handsome." Little Yo-Yo's little face turned even redder and he buried his head even deeper. He actually minded it a little. He was afraid that his father would dislike him if he didn't say anything. Chapter 53:20. He was actually a little bothered by it. He was afraid that his father would dislike him if he didn't speak. However, Master Cheng didn't seem to care at all. He was still smiling and served him food from time to time. Little Yu would sneak a peek at Master Cheng. However, when he was discovered, he would bury his head and refuse to look again. Perhaps, he was shy. Master Cheng was very happy. After dinner, he would carry his son to the sofa to play with the toys. Master Cheng was like an old child. He sat face to face with his son. In front of them was a pile of toys scattered on the floor. It was a little messy. Yu was quite happy. Sister Hong couldn't stand it anymore. "Cheng Jing, don't let your son develop such a bad habit." Master Cheng was still angry. He said sarcastically, "You're a man. Why do you have to be so meticulous?" Not only did he not listen to her, he even reached out and touched his son's head to encourage him. "Son, don't listen to your mother. If you want to play, then play to your heart's content." Sister Hong snorted. "Yes, if you want to play, then play to your heart's content. If one isn't enough, then two." This was an adult topic. Little Yu didn't understand, so he looked at his mother eagerly. Master Cheng's old face turned red. He was annoyed. "Woman with the surname Liu, when did you say this? You must choose to say this when our son is around, right? You're just trying to destroy my perfect image in our son's heart." Sister Hong couldn't stop when she was facing him. She snorted. "Perfect image? Cheng Jing, how dare you say that?" She paused for a moment. "You gave it to yourself, right?" Master Cheng sneered. "I'm not going to compete with a woman like you." He turned around and said to Yu, "Son, ignore this woman. Let's play by ourselves. Daddy will clean up the mess for you." Little Yu nodded. His little face was slightly red. Sister Hong was about to explode. Yu was so obedient. How did he learn to be bad? She wanted to say something, but the auntie came over and pulled her back. She said softly, "Look at how happy Yu is. He hasn't smiled like this for a long time, right?" Sister Hong was speechless. Master Cheng heard this and grinned. That's why there needs to be a male animal in this family. At first, Sister Hong was still a little touched, but at this moment, all of that disappeared. She rolled her eyes at him. Master Cheng also ignored her. He was still angry in his heart, but this woman still dared to give him an expression. When he looked at little Yu, it was completely different. His gaze was filled with love, as though he was looking at a treasure. As Sister Hong watched on, her eyes slowly turned red. Afraid of losing face, she went to the bedroom first. After she left, Master Cheng muttered in a low voice, "This woman still wants to save face. I think there's an 80% chance that she misses me to death." Little Yu stared at him as he played with the building blocks, looking at him eagerly. Master Cheng smiled and said, "Son, don't worry about your mother. Let's continue playing." Little Yu did not speak. He lowered his head and was quite focused. As a young child, he seemed to be very talented in playing with Lego. In just a short while, he was able to do it well. Master Cheng rubbed his nose. He had no choice but to admit that this brat should be like his mother in this aspect. He, Master Cheng, didn't seem to be very good in this aspect. He played with the little fellow and praised him from time to time. The scene was exaggerated and mushy. Little Yu felt a little embarrassed and looked at his father silently. Master Cheng had mixed feelings in his heart. Fortunately, this child could hear. There was something wrong with him. If he played with him more, perhaps it would be like what little Marrow said. He would slowly become willing to talk. After playing for a long time, little Yu was tired. He lay on the sofa and fell asleep. Chapter 53:21. Master Cheng carried the little guy into the bedroom. He didn't have a cane, so his limp was obvious. The auntie came over. "Let me do it." "No need. He's so light, like a kitten," Master Cheng said indifferently. However, his leg really couldn't take the little guy who weighed dozens of kilograms. It was a little embarrassing. But Master Cheng was a person who cared about his reputation. He tried his best to walk, but he looked even more embarrassed. The auntie felt sad. Mr. Cheng used to be so high-spirited. She had to tell Miss Liu that she had to treat Mr. Cheng better. They couldn't be husband and wife, but Mr. Cheng exchanged his leg for their lives. On the other side, Cheng Zheng carried little Yu into the bedroom and watched quietly. At this time, he seemed to have time to look at the little guy. Thin eyebrows, straight nose, and small mouth. He was so beautiful. Master Cheng felt like a loving father in his heart. This kind of feeling couldn't be felt unless he was a father. After a long time, he walked out and came to Sister Hong's bedroom. Sister Hong was changing her clothes. When she saw him coming, she rolled her eyes. "Why did you come in?" Master Cheng's eyes were spitting fire. "Liu Hong, you woman. The child is already like this. Why are you still so fussy? Are you crazy?" Sister Hong suddenly felt wronged. "My son is mine. It has nothing to do with you. Without me, how could you have a son?" Master Cheng was furious. Sister Hong slowly adjusted her clothes. "You only created this child, but Yu was brought up by yourself until he was 4 years old. Do you know how many times I went to the hospital? Do you know how I spent my days every day?" Master Cheng sneered. "Do you think I wanted to? Do you want to die staying in the country? The moon abroad is round, isn't it?" Sister Hong felt helpless. It happened again. They always quarreled when they were together. She sighed. "Cheng Zheng, I don't want to quarrel with you. Please don't start a fight, okay? I start a fight." Master Cheng sneered. "I know you don't like me. You think I'm old-fashioned and uncultured, but I can recite 300 Tang poems in the past few years. Damn, don't look down on me." Sister Hong was both angry and amused. In the end, she turned around and didn't know what to say. But Master Cheng thought that she did not want to talk to him. Well, he was just an uncouth man. How could he be worthy? Master Cheng left without saying a word. When Sister Hong turned around, she saw that he was limping away. Her eyes started to redden. She followed him outside and saw that Master Cheng had taken the cane. She coughed softly. He's gone. Wouldn't it be annoying to stay here? Master Cheng said unhappily. Sister Hong didn't know how to communicate with him. She bit her lip and didn't speak for a long time. Master Cheng looked at her again and then left. As soon as he left, the auntie advised, "It's not that I want to nag at you, but you should be gentler to him. He might really be sad." Sister Hong looked at the auntie and said, "You're helping him too much." He wanted to say something else, but he couldn't. He felt that it was meaningless. Actually, she and Cheng Zheng were nothing now. It was nothing. Sister Hong remained dejected for a while before returning to her bedroom. She thought about Cheng Zheng's words. She thought about his flustered and exasperated look when he said that he could recite 300 Tang poems. She couldn't understand why he was reciting it. Didn't they say that there were many women who would throw themselves at him? Or was it that he didn't throw money at them now and only needed to recite Tang poems to get them? She thought about how bad he was in the past and felt that she shouldn't think about it. Chapter 53:22. After Master Cheng went back, he was very unhappy. After he entered the door, he threw his cane aside and started smoking. As long as Liu Hong was around, she would definitely make him angry. Why did she like to make him angry so much? Master Cheng was very angry in his heart. However, there was nothing he could do about it. After all, he was a man. It was only right for him to give in to a woman. Master Cheng thought it through and was no longer angry. Instead, he felt a little inferior. He fell on his leg. "Hi, it's already like this. What else can I do? What else can I do?" Now that she was rich and had a good figure, what else could Cheng Zheng do when she was following behind him in droves? Master Cheng was so angry that he stamped his feet. However, no matter how angry he was, it was useless. Now, he just wanted his son to be fine and willing to talk. As for the grudge between him and Liu Hong, let it go. Master Cheng felt relieved when he thought it through. Fine, he was a man, so he should give in to her. Xiao Maro watched his Master Cheng gnash his teeth, then sigh and shake his head. His expression was very interesting. In the end, Master Cheng sighed. "Xiao Mao, am I too narrow-minded? Your sister Hong and I always seem to have endless quarrels. It's quite boring, isn't it?" Xiao Mao did not dare to say it. Master Cheng said again, "It's nothing. It's been a few years. Maybe it's just that I can't let it go. Other people have already let it go." After that, he stopped talking and silently picked up the 300 poems of the Tang dynasty. This was still useful to learn. He would read it to his son. At least, he still had a son who could prove that the woman had once belonged to him so passionately. Thinking of this, Master Cheng gritted his teeth again. In the past few years, he had lived like a monk. That woman probably did not think of him even once. Xiao Mao understood in his heart that Master Cheng still couldn't let it go. If he could not let it go, he would chase after her. He could see that Sister Hong did not look like she had a man. Moreover, letting Master Cheng go to her house was enough to prove that their relationship was the same as before. However, Xiao Mao did not dare to come up with any ideas. In fact, he also felt sorry for Master Cheng. Master Cheng was a very loyal person. Although he had a temper, he wasn't a bad person. In the past, he was so awe-inspiring. Now that there was a small problem with his leg, he was much gentler. He wasn't as high-spirited as he used to be. Xiao Mao said in a low voice, "Master Cheng, how about this? Let's just wait and see if Hong Jie will change her mind." Master Cheng glared at him. "Spin my ass. Do I look like I lack women? I'm telling you, Xiao Mao, I'm not interested in this woman at all. Do you hear me? I'll find you a new sister-in-law tomorrow." Xiao Mao opened his mouth wide and stared at Master Cheng. Master Cheng didn't notice the person at the door and continued, "I didn't like her a long time ago. She's old, probably in her 30s. If you take a closer look, she'll probably have a lot of crow's feet. Xiao Mao, let me tell you, don't judge a woman by her appearance. You can't take a closer look at her. If you take a closer look, especially when she removes her makeup at night, you'll be scared to death. Little Mao's smile did not lose any of his dignity, and his gaze was a secret signal. Master Cheng was talking excitedly, so how could he see it? He continued, "You'll know when your wife is old. You'll have to find a wife who's much younger than you." Xiao Maro couldn't help but look at the door. Sister Hong. Sister Hong came over with a coat in her hand. "Cheng Zheng, you left it at my place." Master Cheng was dumbstruck, and he was at a loss of what to do. Chapter 53-23. Sister Hong came in, threw her coat on the sofa, and smiled faintly. "I'm old, a few years older than you, but I don't think I'm fawning on you. Master Cheng, you're young and vigorous, I won't hold you up. If you want to find a girl, go find one." After saying that, she was about to leave, which made Master Cheng anxious. "I just said a few irrelevant words, do you have to be like this?" Sister Hong snorted. "Of course." She gritted her teeth. "Cheng Zheng, don't you know what kind of dog you are? You're still like this at a time like this." She was quite angry, but she couldn't show it because it was really meaningless. So she turned around and left, which made Master Cheng so anxious that he almost swore to the heavens, "Don't go." Master Cheng's heart was trembling, and he didn't care whether Xiao Maro was there or not. He jumped over and hugged her from behind. Sister Hong's voice was fierce. "Let go." Master Cheng was like a big dog. "I won't let go, I won't let go." Sister Hong's voice was cold. "You won't let go, right? Cheng Zheng, can't you be more mature?" Master Cheng originally thought that if he was a shameless person, maybe she would soften and stay, but at this moment, his leg hurt. The pain was secondary, but his heart also hurt. Master Cheng closed his eyes slightly and gently let go of Sister Hong. At that moment, no one knew who was in more pain, but in short, the air was silent. Xiao Maro felt that he was not a human being. After a while, he touched his nose and coughed. "I'm going to the bathroom." Then he encouraged Master Cheng. "Master Cheng, just say what's on your mind." He was anxious to death. Was it so difficult to admit that he thought about Sister Hong every day? Was it difficult to say that he had been alone for the past few years? For Master Cheng, it might really be difficult. Xiao Maro left, and Sister Hong turned around. "Cheng Zheng, I have nothing to say to you, leave your words to the girl." Master Cheng touched his head and smiled. "Okay, I'll talk to the girl later." After saying that, Sister Hong left without looking back. Master Cheng shouted from behind, "I was just joking, and you're angry? You're old, don't be so angry." Sister Hong ignored him and went back to the apartment upstairs. After she left, Master Cheng felt that it was difficult for him to stand, so he sat down. Xiao Maro walked out quietly. Sister Hong left. "I'm leaving." Master Cheng knocked his thigh twice. "It's good that I'm leaving." Xiao Maro did not utter a word. He squatted down and massaged Master Cheng a few times. His skills over the past few years had been pretty good. He was on par with professional chiropractors. Master Cheng sighed softly. "I feel better now." As Xiao Maro knocked on the door, he advised, "Master Cheng, you should restrain your anger a little. It's not easy for her to come back, you should treat her better." Master Cheng rolled his eyes. "Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm looking forward to her? I am looking forward to my son, not her." Little Maro laughed. "Come on, just be stubborn." Master Cheng lay there for a long time before he said, "But Xiao Mao, the matter between me and her is not a big deal. Yo-Yo's matter is serious. We have to find a good doctor to take a look at him. This child is so cute, we can't delay it." Xiao Maro nodded. Master Cheng has a wide circle of friends. It's not difficult to find a good doctor in B City. Master Cheng thought for a long time before he said, "Isn't Qin Chen from Xingyuan Hospital good at medicine?" Xiao Mao also knew this person. Yes, this is the person." Master Cheng touched his head. "Okay." He thought that he had to discuss it with that woman. After all, they were both parents, weren't they? Chapter 53-24. Master Cheng put down his thoughts and focused on his son. After getting someone to contact Qin Chen, they replied that Miss Liu had already contacted him. Master Cheng was puzzled at home. How did this woman get in touch with Dr. Qin? Xiao Maro thought for a moment and suddenly remembered. I remember now. Sister Hong and Su Mu are good friends, right? Bai Anan is from the Yi family, and Bai Anan is married to Qin Xian. Just thinking about it, it's easy to get in touch with them. Master Cheng nodded. Yes, that's true. Xiao Maro leaned over again. I heard that Dr. Qin was very handsome when he was young. Now that he's older, he's a very elegant woman. Master Cheng dug his ears. Xiao Mao, did I hear wrong? Elegant and handsome? Is he a man or a woman? Xiao Maro exclaimed, Ah, it's a woman. But no one could tell that she was a woman when she was young. All the nurses in Shengyuan Hospital liked her. Master Cheng narrowed his eyes. She has a husband, right? Xiao Maro chuckled. She does. Why, Master Cheng, what do you want? Master Cheng spat at him. What nonsense are you talking about? Dr. Qin is in his 50s, right? Xiao Maro smiled embarrassedly. You'll know when you get there. When Master Cheng saw her later, he was really shocked. She didn't look like a man at all. At this moment, after talking to Xiao Mao, he went upstairs to see Sister Hong. He wanted to discuss with her about going to the hospital. Coincidentally, Sister Hong was going out with Xiao Yuyu. Where are we going? Master Cheng asked in a daze. Sister Hong didn't hide it from him. To the hospital. Lawyer Bai recommended a very good doctor. Master Cheng touched his head. It's Dr. Qin, right? Okay, let's go together. Sister Hong looked at him strangely and didn't say anything. They went to the hospital together. When he saw Qin Chen, he was really shocked. Qin Chen was really elegant, and he didn't look like he was in his 50s at all. Instead, he looked like he was in his 30s, about the same age as Sister Hong. Maybe it was because the Qin family specially produced good-looking people, but Master Cheng had seen several members of the Qin family, such as Qin Xian, Qin Mo, and Qin Yihuan. They were all good-looking, just like the family of his ex-husband, Yi Xiangnan. Every one of them was good-looking. Qin Chen brought little Yuyu over. He didn't use any equipment or anything. He just casually asked a few questions as though he was chatting with little Yuyu. He didn't force little Yuyu to answer. He just smiled at some of them and nodded or shook his head at others. Little Yuyu always had a reaction. Qin Chen reached out and rubbed his head. Good boy. She got up and started writing the medical records. Master Cheng was the first to lose his cool. He leaned over and asked, Dr. Qin, what do you think? Qin Chen smiled. There's nothing wrong with this child. Master Cheng coughed lightly. Then why doesn't he like to talk? Qin Chen looked up at him. Maybe it's because it's too quiet at home. By the way, don't you and your wife live together? Master Cheng immediately said yes, yes. Sister Hong rolled her eyes at him and said softly, the child was an accident. We don't live together. Master Cheng immediately said sarcastically, now that you mention it, our past is quite fresh and refined. These two were going to argue again. Qin Chen lowered his eyes and held back his laughter for a long time. After a while, he said, I think you should try living together for a period of time. It might be good for the child. It might not be good to be noisy. The past is too quiet. Master Cheng and Sister Hong were a little dumbfounded. What did he mean by too quiet? Chapter 53-25. Seeing that they were puzzled, Qin Chen explained with a smile, it's just that it's too quiet. There are too few people talking. Children don't want to talk. It's not an illness. He's just unhappy. Qin Chen was more straightforward. With Master Cheng's level of education, he finally understood. He rubbed his head and said, oh, I see. He chuckled, if that's the case. Qin Chen said calmly, you'd better move in together and give your child a healthy family. Master Cheng's eyes widened. He stared at Dr. Qin and then at Sister Hong. Sister Hong's face was expressionless, so Master Cheng was a little bored. It depends on others. If they only care about their own happiness and don't care about the child, There's nothing I can do. What? Sister Hong was furious. She lowered her voice and said, "What do you mean by for my own happiness? Don't you want to find a gigolo? Do you dare to say that you don't want to? It must be very inconvenient for you to have me in your house." Master Cheng was not polite. He was furious. Sister Hong was furious. "Can't you restrain yourself in front of the child?" Qin Chen said, "There's no need to restrain yourself. Just do what you need to do." Sister Hong was also stunned. "Is that okay? Why not? He's just too quiet. Also, he should go to school." Qin Chen said calmly, "He might be bullied, but it's better than being locked up at home. It's okay for a boy to suffer some setbacks." Sister Hong nodded. The family left with the child. After getting in the car, Master Cheng asked uncomfortably, "Are you going to move in with me or I'm going to move in with you?" Sister Hong looked at him. "I haven't decided yet." Master Cheng shouted, "What else do you want to think about? Dr. Qin is an authority in this field. She already said that, but you still don't think about your son. Do you want to find a gigolo and give up on your son's future?" Sister Hong was speechless. After a while, she said in a low voice, "Can you not say this in front of you? I don't want that now." Master Cheng's voice became colder. "You don't have it now, but it doesn't mean you won't have it in the future. What does that have to do with you?" Sister Hong asked. At that moment, Master Cheng was speechless. He just stood there dumbly. Sister Hong didn't say anything either. She said softly, "Let's not quarrel, if we really want to live together." Her words warmed Master Cheng's heart. Did she mean that she was still willing to live with him? Master Cheng agreed softly, and the two of them temporarily stopped fighting. Then, they saw little Yu looking at them with sparkling eyes. Master Cheng also felt quite embarrassed. He coughed lightly and said, "Your mother and I are not quarreling. We just don't agree." Yu nodded. Sister Hong replied coldly, "Most of the time, we disagree with each other." Master Cheng was a little annoyed. He wanted to start a fight, but the child was here. He couldn't keep arguing, right? There had to be some family warmth, right? He was a man. Let her have her way. Master Cheng hugged his son and told him stories. However, he was an uncouth man, and he only told the same few stories. Sister Hong rolled her eyes and looked out of the car window silently. But after a while, her heart suddenly calmed down. With Cheng Zhang around, taking care of little Yu seemed to be more relaxed. At the very least, Yu was close to him and was willing to let him take care of him. Yu seemed to like Cheng Zhang a lot too. Sister Hong's eyes slowly turned red. After a while, she gently wiped them away. Chapter 53-26. Master Cheng glanced at her. "Heh, what a promising girl. Wasn't she very fierce before?" He snorted softly, "Hey, don't tell me you're touched. There's no need for that. I'm a jerk. You might be touched 1 second, but you might be angered by me the next." Sister Hong said coldly, "Don't worry, I won't, as long as you don't think too highly of yourself." Master Cheng licked his lips. "Think too highly of myself? Don't worry, I won't." Then, he muttered to himself, "I'm stupid to fall for the same woman twice." Sister Hong couldn't be bothered with him anymore. The moment she turned around, she saw little Yu staring at her with his eyes wide open. Sister Hong coughed. "I was just playing with your dad." Little Yo-Yo's eyes were still sparkling, and he didn't look worried. Sister Hong felt a little annoyed. Did this little guy like to watch people fight? If that was the case, there was no need for her and Cheng Zheng to pretend anymore. The car drove back to the apartment. Master Cheng reached out and touched the little guy. He said softly, "All right, Dad will go get the luggage. Yu and I will be staying together." Sister Hong looked at his shameless behavior and couldn't help but say, "Hey, we are just staying together temporarily." Master Cheng was unhappy. What's wrong with coaxing the child and making him happy? You have to be honest. Sister Hong didn't agree with him. Master Cheng smiled. "Don't use your way of doing news at home. You have to listen to me at home. I am a man." Sister Hong didn't want to talk to him. She turned around and carried Yu to the elevator. Master Cheng caught up and said in a gentle voice, "Let me carry you. You are a woman, but you look like a female warrior." Sister Hong looked at his legs subconsciously and said calmly, "Let me carry you." Master Cheng's face turned red. He wanted to say something but didn't. He felt a little defeated. When they reached the elevator, Sister Hong put little Yu down and touched his head. "Dad's leg was injured when you were born, so I can't carry you." Little Yu looked up at Master Cheng. Master Cheng's heart throbbed. He was a little afraid. He was afraid that his son would dislike him. But little Yu didn't. Little Yu gently threw himself into his embrace, his little hands hugging him very softly. Master Cheng was a rough man, but when he felt his nose turn sour, he had an indescribable feeling. In the end, he said in a low and hoarse voice, "Daddy is fine. Daddy promises that it will get better in the future." In fact, it was usually only a little. As long as it was not strenuous, it would be fine. However, he always regretted it. She was always afraid that her son would feel embarrassed. However, when this little fellow expressed that he didn't mind at all, Master Cheng admitted that he was also cured. He hugged and kissed Yu. It was quiet in the elevator. No one spoke. Beside him, Xiao Mao felt like crying. He was so touched. When they reached Master Cheng's floor, Master Cheng went to pack his things while Sister Hong brought Yu home. While Master Cheng was packing, Xiao Mao reminded him, "Actually, it's just upstairs and downstairs. You don't need to pack so much. If you need anything, just come down and take it." Master Cheng glared at Xiao Mao. "This is called a sense of belonging. Do you understand?" Xiao Mao whispered, "I don't really understand." Master Cheng was furious. He dragged his luggage upstairs. When he knocked on the door, he was very happy. "That's great, I'm here." The auntie came to open the door. She was also very happy. "Mr. Cheng, you're here. The room is ready." Master Cheng was puzzled. "Ready? There's no need. I'll just stay in the same room with Liu Hong." Chapter 53:27. After he said that, the auntie was in a difficult position. Because Miss Liu didn't ask Mr. Cheng to stay in the same room as her. She said that she cleaned up the guest room for Mr. Cheng to stay in. Even if she didn't say it, Master Cheng could tell and his face darkened. The auntie said softly, "I'll ask Miss Liu." "Mr. Cheng, don't quarrel with her, it'll hurt your feelings. Now that the child is so big, you should think about the child and not do whatever you want." Master Cheng was stunned for a moment, then he realized the problem. He looked at the auntie and said softly, "Will Liu Hong and I affect little Yu a lot?" The auntie looked at him and said seriously, "What do you think?" Master Cheng was silent. After a long time, he dragged his luggage into the guest room. He had stayed here for a period of time, so he knew where the guest room was. At this moment, Sister Hong walked out and saw him enter the guest room and look at the auntie. The auntie smiled and said, "Mr. Cheng is very easy to talk to." Sister Hong smiled. She didn't want to quarrel with Cheng Zheng. As for whether he stayed here or not, she didn't care. The main thing was that Yu liked him. Master Cheng cleaned up the guest room and sat on the edge of the bed. He wanted to smoke but held back. With a child at home, he had to change this habit. He was a father now, so he had to act like a father. Master Cheng let out a long sigh. He was really miserable now. He had to sleep in the guest room in such a state. He sat quietly for a while and looked around. Fortunately, there was a bathroom in the guest room, so it wasn't troublesome. After a while, the auntie came over to call for dinner. He went out and saw little Yu coming out as well. He looked at him with sparkling eyes. Master Cheng's heart softened and he went over to hug him. "Daddy will live with you from now on." Little Yo-Yo's eyes lit up even more and his little face blushed. Master Cheng was happy and patted his head. The four of them ate together quietly. After a while, Master Cheng talked to Sister Hong about what happened in B City in the past few years, Xiao Mao's marriage, and the changes in Zhong Fucai and Du Meili. He spoke normally and Sister Hong didn't refute. She just listened and the atmosphere was good. After dinner, they sat on the sofa to watch television. Grandfather Cheng carried his son and listened to Sister Hong talk about little Yu going to school. He didn't object, but he said that it was okay for boys to have some setbacks. Sister Hong smiled faintly. All right, we'll bring him to school next Monday. The school had found Bai Anan through her connections. Bai Anan had also returned to the country at this time and brought back 2 children. One was a little older than Yu, and the other was a year younger. Just nice, we're in the same school now. Master Cheng also happened to see Bai Anan. He felt that this woman was a little different from before. Before Bai Anan got married, she was a very powerful lawyer, the kind that made people tremble in fear. But now, she seemed to be a little different. She was more like a woman than before. She was not as sharp as before. When he turned around, Master Cheng casually asked about it. Sister Hong faintly replied, she and Qin Xian divorced 2 years ago. Master Cheng was surprised. He touched his head and said, even people of the same social status would get divorced. Sister Hong smiled and said, it seems that men are unreliable. Master Cheng disagreed and said, don't you think you're going too far? What era are we in? Men and women are equal. There's no such thing as being abandoned. Speaking of which, he felt wronged. He was even abandoned. He wanted to do something but some people refused and even asked him to sleep in the guest room. Chapter 53:28. Master Cheng didn't say anything. He just sat in the car and didn't say anything. Sister Hong didn't say anything either. She hugged little Yu and asked, do you like school? Little Yu nodded obediently. Sister Hong smiled bitterly. After bringing little Yu home, Master Cheng played with little Yu while Sister Hong asked Bai Anan out for tea. Half an hour later, the 2 women sat in a cafe. Sister Hong took a sip of coffee and looked up at the woman in front of her. Bai Anan seemed a lot more mature than before and wasn't as sharp as before. Perhaps it had something to do with her semi-retirement from the legal profession. She had been living abroad for the past 2 years to take care of her child, so she had become a lot more gentle. Sister Hong asked softly, are you really not going to have anything to do with Qin Xian? Bai Anan smiled and said, we might not be the same kind of people. She looked up and sighed. I ask for a lot, but he never gives. Sister Hong smiled too. You already have 2 children. Bai Anan glanced at her. That's not what I meant. Sister Hong smiled again. Then what are your plans? Bai Anan thought for a moment. I don't think so. I quite enjoy my current life. Maybe I'll find a boyfriend. She didn't really love Qin Xian, but she knew that he didn't want to love her. They lived together and it was normal. She couldn't tell what was bad or good about it. But after a long time, Bai Anan knew that she couldn't give Qin Xian happiness. Perhaps she was a little stubborn, so they divorced. Qin Xian was a little confused at the time. After hearing her reason for divorce, he only thought for a minute and agreed. And he didn't want the child. Bai Anan thought that he was young, handsome, and rich. He didn't need a child to hold him back. Over the past 2 years, it wasn't like he didn't have any female friends by his side. There were quite a few of them that came and went. She had heard about them from Yi Huan, but they weren't too high profile. When she was living abroad, Qin Xian would go to her house once a month for a week to accompany the children. As an ex-husband and wife, they had always been polite to each other. When she came back this time, he even went to the airport to pick her up. Before Bai Anan came back, she bought a villa to live in. She also had an agreement with Qin Xian that he would visit the child once a week and stay for 1 night. No other ex-husband and wife were as harmonious as they were. Bai Anan had even met his girlfriend abroad once and had a cup of coffee together. She was young and pretty. She seemed to love Qin Xian very much. Bai Anan didn't feel too much about it. She had loved Qin Xian before, but after living with him for a long time, she knew that they weren't suitable for each other. So, before the divorce, she had sorted out her feelings and prepared herself. After the divorce, he would always find another woman, and she was not a little girl anymore, so there was no need to be angry. After chatting with Sister Hong, she drove back to her villa. As soon as the car stopped, Auntie Chong came over and whispered, Mr. Qin is here. He's accompanying the young master and young miss. Bai Anan nodded and said that she understood. Then, she walked upstairs. In the spring day, she wore a little daisy wool dress. Her long brown hair was loose, fresh and soft. In the living room on the second floor, Qin Xian was accompanying the children. He leaned against the sofa, holding a book in his hand. The two children were nestled in his arms, one on each side, listening to him read. Qin Xian's appearance was very good, and he had inherited the advantages of the Qin family. At this moment, he looked very lazy, like a family man. But Bai Anan knew that he wasn't. He was a good father once a week. Other than that, young Master Qin was very popular with women. Chapter 53:29. Bai Anan looked at him and said, "You're here?" Qin Xian smiled and continued to read to the children. The two children got along very well with him, and they were very young and didn't have the concept of divorce. In addition, he came to see them regularly. Bai Anan pursed her lips and said, "I'm going to change." She went into the cloakroom and changed out of her clothes absent-mindedly. She put on a set of home clothes. When she walked out, he was already talking on the phone in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. Judging from her posture and gentle voice, it must be his recent girlfriend. She was a sweetheart with a good temper and was very obedient to him. Bai Anan thought about it absent-mindedly and then smiled. When Qin Xian turned his head, he happened to see her smile. In the past 2 years, she had been very different from before. She was very domestic and didn't seem to take on any more cases. Even her style of dressing had changed a lot. She was no longer wearing the clothes of a strong woman, but very feminine and soft. She was very calm during the divorce. After the divorce, they didn't fight and had always been polite. Although he still didn't understand why she wanted a divorce, when she said that she was unhappy, he let go and didn't force her. In the past 2 years, he had a girlfriend, but she had always been alone. He didn't see anyone around her. Qin Xian came back to his senses and frowned slightly, feeling that he was paying too much attention to her. Bai Anan was with the children. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl, Qin Shi and Qin Yu. Bai Anan said that it was the legend of Qin. He also felt that the name was quite easy to remember, so he didn't object. At this time, when she took over from him to read to the 2 children, Qin Shi listened carefully. Qin Yu was too young and climbed up and down on her mother's legs, but Bai Anan didn't seem to care. Qin Xian always felt that she was too lazy now. Looking at her now, it was hard to imagine what she was like when she was a strong woman. He sat opposite her and took out his phone to deal with some work. As for his girlfriend, she didn't ask, and he didn't say. He couldn't say what their current way of getting along was. She probably didn't have much of a relationship with him and didn't seem to care much about his private life. With such a sensible ex-wife, a good relationship, 2 lovely children, and an obedient and lovely girlfriend, Qin Xian felt that he should be satisfied, but he just couldn't seem to be happy. Bai Anan looked up. "What's the matter?" Qin Xian smiled faintly. "Nothing." Bai Anan did not ask any more questions. Her mind was completely focused on the 2 children. If he had not known that she had liked him before, he would have suspected that they had been husband and wife. At the time of the divorce, she said that he did not love her, but now, it seemed that she was the one who did not care. Qin Xian remained indifferent, occasionally glancing at her. At about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the servant downstairs came up. "Miss Bai, Mr. Qin, dinner is ready. Shall we eat now?" The servant in the house was an old member of the Bai family. He knew the relationship between the former couple, so he didn't avoid it. Qin Xian closed the book. "Let's eat." His posture was natural, as if he was the man of the house. Bai Anan frowned. She didn't know what she was unhappy about. The 2 of them ate together with the children. After dinner, he sat on the sofa and read, not looking like he was going to leave. Bai Anan settled the 2 children down, sat opposite him with a cup of fruit tea, and sipped it. "Qin Shi and Qin Yu are both asleep. If you are busy, you can leave first and come over tomorrow." Qin Xian looked up and frowned. "I don't have anything particularly important to do." Bai Anan smiled but did not say anything. Qin Xian roughly understood what she meant. "You don't have to accompany your girlfriend every day." She nodded. "That's good." After saying that, She got up, said good night, and returned to her bedroom. Qin Xian did not move. He was still sitting on the sofa, scrolling through his phone and reading the news. He was used to going to bed at 12 o'clock at night. It was only 9 o'clock now. At 11 o'clock, he put away his phone and was about to go to the guest room. Bai Anan came out of the bedroom and seemed to want to pour a glass of water. When their eyes met, he was a little stunned. She was wearing a white bathrobe. He remembered that for 2 or 3 years after their marriage, she had always liked to wear black. Because he liked it. Was it because of the divorce that she changed back to white? She had clearly been used to the touch and color. Chapter 53:30. Qin Xian looked at her quietly. Bai Anan looked down at her clothes and smiled. What's wrong? Qin Xian looked away and smiled. It's nothing. The bathrobe is not bad. Bai Anan went to pour water and said casually, it's just an ordinary bathrobe. It's not a big deal. Qin Xian could tell that she was a little unhappy. He thought about it and agreed. They were no longer husband and wife. There was no need to discuss this topic anymore. It seemed a little too intimate. Bai Anan drank half a glass of water and prepared to go back to her bedroom. Qin Xian stopped her. Anan. Bai Anan was stunned because he almost never called her that after the divorce. It wasn't to the extent of Miss Bai, but it wasn't to the extent of Bai Anan either. She sat down opposite him and asked softly, what's the matter? Qin Xian hesitated for a moment before saying, do you have any plans after you come back? Bai Anan thought for a moment. Plans? Then she asked, do you mean work or love life? Qin Xian smiled. If you want to say it. Bai Anan tilted her head and looked at him. Are you getting engaged? Don't worry, I don't have that kind of mood for the time being. If it's work, the law firm is normal now. I don't think about my love life for the time being. Qin Xian said, it's not to the extent of getting engaged. Bai Anan didn't ask anymore. There was no need for a divorced couple to probe into each other's private life so clearly. She didn't know if she was too cold-blooded. Anyway, when they divorced, they had already thought about it. In the future, they would be raising Qin Shi and Qin Yu together. It wasn't that their relationship was bad before, but she couldn't find the feeling of spending the rest of her life with Qin Xian. She thought he felt the same way. Cutting through the Gordian knot was the most suitable way for the two of them. Bai Anan said softly, I'm going to sleep. Qin Xian said yes, and then his gaze fell on her. Bai Anan gathered her bathrobe and walked towards her bedroom. Her back was very beautiful. Even though she was wearing a bathrobe, it was obvious that she looked better than before. It was probably because she had been unemployed for the past 2 years and chose various dance classes to shape her figure. In short, even though Bai Anan was over 30 years old now, her figure was comparable to a young girl's. Moreover, her entire body was much softer, unlike before when she had the temperament of a strong woman. Qin Xian watched quietly. Then, he got up and went to the guest room to change his clothes before heading to the gym outside. When he came back, it was already the middle of the night. He took a shower and sat on the bed smoking. He was still a little annoyed. He didn't know why he was like this. Bai Anan had probably returned. He didn't sleep well that night. When he woke up early in the morning, there was some fragrance in the air. It smelled like milk mixed with the fragrance of wheat. It smelled good. Qin Xian closed his eyes and lay down for a while. Then, 2 little people climbed onto his body and called him Daddy. He reached out and picked one up. It was the tiny Qin Yu. The little yellow bun stuck to him and said in a childish voice, Mummy is making breakfast. Qin Xian put one hand behind his head and smiled gently. Mummy knows how to make breakfast. Little Qin Yu said obediently, Mummy knows how to make many types of breakfast. She knows how to make biscuits, jelly, mashed potatoes, milkshakes. It's fragrant. Qin Xian kissed his little daughter. Does she make breakfast for you every day? Little Qin Yu used a little more force and her eyes sparkled. Yes. Mummy makes breakfast every day. Chapter 53:31. Qin Xian was a little surprised. When he lived with Bai Anan, she was a very strong woman. She didn't go to the kitchen many times, let alone make breakfast. But now, it was obvious that she could make food that even the children liked. Had she been busy with this for the past 2 years? Qin Xian was a little lost in his thoughts. Little Qin Yu shook his arm. Daddy, Daddy. Qin Xian came back to his senses and smiled. What's wrong, baby? Little Qin Yu said childishly, I heard that his daddy likes his mommy a lot. Daddy, do you like mommy? Qin Xian was surprised that his daughter would ask that and didn't know how to answer. After a while, he said, Daddy and mommy aren't husband and wife anymore. Little Qin Yu said strangely, but Cheng Yu's daddy and mommy aren't husband and wife either. Qin Xian was even more confused than she was. How did she know all this? Qin Xian thought for a while before saying slowly, how about this, Cheng Yu's daddy and mommy aren't together yet, and your mommy and I. Before he could finish, little Qin Yu's face scrunched up, looking like she was about to cry. Qin Xian was speechless for a moment. After a while, he coaxed her softly, why are you crying? Little Qin Yu climbed down from his body and cried. She looked especially cute as she went to find her mommy. Qin Shi shrugged. That's how little girls are. Qin Xian's heart ached for his daughter. He lifted the blanket and got out of bed to chase after her. When he reached the living room door, he saw Bai Anan carrying little Qin Yu and gently wiping her tears. Little Qin Yu was still very sad, lying on her shoulder and sobbing. As their father, Qin Xian felt a little upset. The 2 children seemed to be on good terms with him, but they weren't close. On the other hand, they were very close to Bai Anan. It was probably because they were always by her side. However, a voice told him that it wasn't like that. It was not only because the child had grown up by her side, but also because Bai Anan did not have other members of the opposite sex by her side, while he did. Naturally, the child would want to be closer to the person who did not have a member of the opposite sex by his side. That way, he would feel safer. He watched quietly. At his feet, a tiny Qin Shi had appeared out of nowhere. Qin Shi sighed. Actually, there are a lot of people who like Mom. Qin Xian raised his eyebrows. Really? He knew that Bai Anan was good-looking and had a good figure. No one knew her better than him, her ex-husband. It wasn't strange for a man to like her, and it wouldn't be an obstacle just because she had 2 children. It was because Bai Anan had money and time. Qin Xian thought and inadvertently looked up at his ex-wife. She was coaxing little Qin Yu, who was lying on her shoulder and sobbing. Bai Anan smiled. All right, Daddy didn't do it on purpose. Can you forgive him? Qin Yu remained silent, throwing a tantrum. Bai Anan was amused and annoyed at the same time. She carried Qin Yu over and looked at Qin Xian reproachfully. Why did you make her so angry? Although Qin Yu was young, she had always had a good temper. Qin Xian looked at Bai Anan deeply. He realized that she only had Qin Shi and Qin Yu in her heart. He was like a tool. Because he was her ex-husband and the father of the child, she had to deal with him. Qin Xian carried little Qin Yu over, but the little girl didn't want him to carry her. She clung to her mother and refused to get down. Bai Anan said calmly, coax her. I'll change my clothes. We'll have breakfast together later. After saying that, she returned to the master bedroom. She had only taken 2 steps when her wrist was grabbed by Qin Xian. His voice was slightly hoarse. N. Bai Anan tilted her head. Are you in a hurry today? He shook his head. No, I can leave at 5 in the afternoon. She knew that he was meeting his girlfriend for dinner, so she nodded. Okay. She went to change her clothes and answered a phone call. When she came out, she said to Qin Xian, I'm going out in a while. Is it okay for you to take care of Qin Shi and Qin Yu for a day? As she said that, she fastened her belt. Qin Xian looked over naturally. She had given birth to 2 children, but her waist was even slimmer than before. Perhaps it was because she paid attention to her physical training. In the past 2 years, she had not only taken care of the children, but she had also planned for herself. Now, she looked very beautiful and soft. Qin Xian smiled faintly. Of course, no problem. Bai Anan thanked him and went back to spray perfume. She took her bag and changed into high heels, preparing to go out. She tied it up a little. It was really not bad. Once she left, there was a fragrance on her body. Qin Xian had not brushed his teeth yet. He was still carrying the baby in his arms. Right now, he looked more like a housewife. However, young Master Qin's temperament was very good. Even so, it did not affect his beauty. Bai Anan left quickly. Qin Yu's big eyes were still filled with tears. When the door closed, she glared at Qin Xian and said angrily, "I don't like Daddy." Qin Xian pinched her little face. "Why don't you like me?" Qin Yu huffed. "Because Mummy doesn't like you anymore." Qin Xian had a headache. This child knew too much too early. He carried little Qin Yu to the dining room and placed little Qin Shi on the little chair. "Take care of little sister. Daddy is going to brush his teeth. We'll have breakfast together later." Qin Yu still did not want to talk to him. In little Qin Yu's world, it was always the boys who were in the wrong. Qin Shi's brother had always given in to her, but she felt that her daddy wouldn't give in to her mummy. Daddy had a girlfriend and Mummy didn't have a boyfriend. Mummy was at a disadvantage. During breakfast, Qin Yu stared at Qin Xian. "What's wrong? Are you still angry at Daddy?" Qin Xian reached out and caressed the little girl's little head. Little Qin Yu lowered her head and did not say anything. After a long time, she muttered, "Daddy, are you getting married soon? Are you going to have a baby soon?" Qin Xian thought about his new girlfriend and smiled faintly. "I don't have any plans for now." Qin Shi said in an old voice, "Daddy and Mommy got divorced a long time ago. Daddy will get married sooner or later. We'll just have to count on our new daddy." "New daddy?" Qin Xian looked at Qin Shi and asked slowly. Qin Shi nodded. "Yes, new daddy. Mommy can't be single forever. We have to get used to our new life." As Qin Xian ate his breakfast, he tapped his fingers on the table gently. After a while, he said, "Mommy is getting married. Do you want to live with me?" he asked, but the two children did not say anything. Thus, Qin Xian knew that they were unwilling. He sighed in his heart. It would be a lie to say that he was not disappointed. Perhaps the two children were really not that close to him. After breakfast, he cleaned up and accompanied them for a while. Later, Qin Yu went to bed. Qin Shi had always been busy with his own things, so he went to the balcony to smoke alone. After smoking for a long time, he only gave up when his mouth was a little bitter. He crumpled the cigarette box into a ball. Actually, he and Bai Anan had been separated for a long time. 2 years could forget a lot of things. He did not know why she wanted a divorce back then. He only knew that he was a little surprised when she brought it up, but he still let her be. He thought that he would let her be. But now that he thought about it, perhaps he was helping himself. Bai Anan raised 2 children alone. She had not had a relationship for the past few years. Although his own life was not very exciting, he had dated 2 or 3 women. It was just that he had not decided on a partner yet. So, he had always been indifferent. Qin Xian held onto the railing and looked into the distance quietly. He was a little lost. He had actually forgotten how he felt about liking Bai Anan. So what if they broke up? He had a girlfriend and he was used to seeing his children once a week. He did not lack women, children, or career. He was actually the winner in life. But Qin Shi said that his mother would eventually remarry. That was when he suddenly realized Bai Anan was not his anymore. If he could find a girlfriend after their divorce, she could also find someone else. There was no such thing as a good thing in the world. If he remarried, his ex-wife would still be guarding that marriage and their children. If she remarried, then Qin Shi and Qin Yu might have to call someone else daddy. Just thinking about it, Qin Xian could not accept it. This was probably the illness of a rich young master. But he also knew that he could not stop Bai Anan. Bai Anan's background was better than his. Qin Xian thought about all sorts of things as he took care of the children. At noon, he did not cook. He asked his secretary to send food over. Qin Shi was delicious, but Qin Yu kept saying that it was not as good as her mother's cooking. Qin Xian felt that Qin Yu was a little too pampered and could not leave her mother. But if that was the case, how was Bai Anan going to get a boyfriend? It would probably be difficult for her to remarry in the future, right? Just as he thought about it, the pampered little princess said, "Grandma Chen's cooking was also good in the past." Qin Xian looked at her. Qin Yu said softly, Mommy learned from her. Grandma Chen usually does it. In a few days, Grandma Chen will come to take care of us. She climbed onto Qin Shen's body and said in an even softer voice, Is Mommy going to find a boyfriend? Qin Shen did not know how to answer her. Qin Yu sighed and did not say anything. She looked like she was quite sad. Qin Shen was a little distracted. He looked at the time and it was already 3 in the afternoon. He called Bai Anan. After the phone rang 4 or 5 times, she picked up, Qin Shen. Her voice was soft, just like a certain time in the past. Only then would she be so soft. Qin Shen's Adam's apple bobbed up and down uncontrollably. Then, he said softly, Where are you? On the other side, Bai Anan flipped her hair. I'm drinking coffee with Liu Hong. I'll be back in a while. Qin Shen suddenly said, No need, I'll bring the kids over. Let's have a family meal together. Bai Anan frowned. Qin Shen, don't you have something to do at 5? I'll cancel it, he said decisively. Bai Anan was silent for a moment before saying softly, There's no need. He was unhappy because of her attitude. His voice was low and hoarse. Bai Anan, it's just a family meal. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that I'll chase after you again? No. Her voice became even more indifferent. Then, she told him the address. Qin Shen hung up the phone and sent a WeChat message to his little girlfriend. Then, he packed up and went out with the 2 kids. He drove an Aurora with 2 child seats in the back seat. Every time he met children, he would drive this car. Qin Shi was quite happy, and Qin Yu forgave him for a short while. Qin Shen asked casually as he drove, What do you want to eat tonight? Qin Yu said coquettishly, I want to try a candlelight dinner with my brother. Qin Shen raised his eyebrows in surprise. After a while, he asked Qin Shi, Did you teach this to your sister? Qin Shi shrugged like an adult. No, she likes to watch Korean dramas. Qin Shen frowned. Doesn't Mummy care? Mummy brought her to watch it together. Qin Shi snitched again. Qin Shen did not know what to say. He knew that Anan was not such an emotional person in the past. She was a workaholic. He remembered that when she was pregnant with Qin Shen, she was still in court the day before she died. Qin Shen's mind wandered for a moment before he stopped thinking about it immediately. Later, when they were at a red light, he could not help but think back. When she was pregnant with Qin Shi, it was probably the worst time for their relationship. She was busy with work, and he complained that she did not care about children. She started working less than a month after she gave birth to Qin Shi. Although they were quite harmonious in other aspects, he always felt that that kind of family was not perfect. He slowly put his energy into work. After that, Bai Anan did not work much. Even if she had something to do, she would get her secretary to send her home. She learned to be a mother and taught Qin Shi well. Later, they were unexpectedly pregnant with Qin Yu. He clearly remembered that he did not intend to have children, but he did not know that he was pregnant. If he was, he would give birth to it. During this pregnancy, she was at home. He was very relieved that she was well behaved. He was still working outside and had a wife and children at home. It was a good life. At least, Qin Shen was satisfied with his marriage at that time. However, he did not know why Bai Anan asked for a divorce when Qin Yu was born. He was a little confused, but he still agreed. Qin Shen could not help but want to smoke, but he was shocked when he remembered that the 2 children were in the car. At that moment, he suddenly realized why Bai Anan had divorced. She gave up her job and returned to her family. It was not because she did not want to work, but because she gave in for the sake of her marriage. However, he did not. He felt that it was natural and even put more energy into work and socializing. Although he did not take it seriously, he would always bring back some perfume. He remembered that she had asked him a few times. He felt that it was nothing. It was just that the young lady sat beside him and drank some wine. Her actions would not be too excessive. Everyone was like that. He did not want to stand out too much and make her unhappy. It was because of this that she wanted to get a divorce. It was not that she had no feelings for him. It was that she was disappointed in him and felt that he was not a good husband, right? Qin Shen looked ahead, his eyes a little bitter. But why didn't she have a good talk with him? She was sentenced to death just like that. His mood suddenly became complicated, so when he saw Bai Anan again, his mood was a little different. In addition, Liu Hong's assistant, who had followed him from abroad, was really eye-catching. She leaned over to Bai Anan and said something. It seemed to be to Bai Anan's favor. She smiled at the pretty boy, and it was actually quite sweet. Qin Xian was instantly very unhappy. He sat in the car and did not get out. He called her, "I'm here." Bai Anan answered, "Are you here? I'll be right out." Qin Xian could see that she put away the phone and said something to the young man. Then, she greeted Liu Hong and walked out. She was still wearing the long dress that made her waist look especially thin. Her long black hair was tied up and her face was exquisitely made up. Qin Xian looked at her for a while. "What did you talk about?" Bai Anan looked at the child and said, "It's about the investment." Qin Xian started the car and said calmly, "Don't you have enough assets to spend now?" She was a little surprised that he would ask this. After thinking for a moment, she slowly said, "When Qin Shi and Qin Yu go to school, of course I still have to work. At that time, the family will hire 2 aunties and a tutor. Those can't replace parents." Qin Xian didn't know why he was angry. In short, he was quite angry because she had thought of everything and didn't mention him. Bai Anan was even more surprised. She didn't understand why he suddenly lost his temper. Yes, he was unhappy. After being married to him for a few years, she could still understand his personality. He wasn't the kind of person who was easy to talk to, and he didn't give in to others. Why was he unhappy now? But now that they were not husband and wife, there was no need for her to please him and think about his feelings, so Qin Xian was unhappy because he was unhappy. No one coaxed him. At least Bai Anan had been interacting with the child and didn't take his words to heart. Qin Xian drove the car to a restaurant and stopped. He turned his head and said, "You should discuss these things with me." Bai Anan blinked her eyes. She was born good. In the past, she was too strong, so she didn't seem very close to him. Now, she was much softer. When she blinked her eyes, it was as if there were many little stars in them. Qin Xian stared into her eyes and said again, "I will always be the child's father." Bai Anan made an "oh" sound, then turned her head to the side and said nonchalantly, "I thought you would have other plans, such as getting married and having children. At that time, you might not care about Qin Shi and Qin Yu." Qin Xian frowned. "Are you sure you want to mention this in front of the child? Why can't I mention it?" Bai Anan's voice became more and more faint. "Our divorce is a fact, and they are not traumatized. They can also accept you remarrying. What else are you dissatisfied with? If you think that visiting them once a week is too much, you can change it to a month. You can discuss this with Qin Shi and Qin Yu." Qin Xian finally understood the meaning behind her words. Every time he came, she meant that she didn't care. As long as the child was happy, it was fine. If the child didn't want to see him, he didn't have to come. He leaned close to her and said in a low voice, "Bai Anan, what about you? Don't you care?" Bai Anan was a little speechless. "We're divorced. It doesn't matter to me." As she said that, she unbuckled her seat belt and was about to get out of the car. Qin Xian suddenly grabbed her arm and said in a low voice, "Bai Anan." She turned her head and looked at him. She said strangely, "What's wrong?" He was really a little strange today. Did he not get along with his girlfriend? Qin Xian stared at her and suddenly asked, "Bai Anan, why did you divorce in the first place?" Bai Anan was stunned. She clearly didn't expect him to ask such a question. After a while, she smiled. "I just felt that I didn't love you anymore. Liar." He suddenly got a little angry. "You still loved me when you divorced me." Bai Anan sighed. "Qin Xian, do you really have to bring this up?" She paused and said decisively, "Let's eat with the children. We'll talk after that." Qin Shi and Qin Yu widened their eyes, especially Qin Yu, who looked like she was watching a Korean drama. Qin Xian loosened his grip on her and let her go. After a while, he smiled and said, "We'll talk after the children fall asleep." Bai Anan knew that it was unlikely that he would let her go today. Although she didn't know why he suddenly did this, it definitely wasn't a good thing. She let out a long breath. Get out of the car to eat. Qinshe, help your sister unbuckle her seat belt. Qinshe obediently agreed and unbuckled his seat belt. Bai Anan got out of the car and naturally went to carry little Qinyu. Qin Xian came over and picked up the little girl before her. He said calmly, "Let me carry her." Bai Anan moved a little and Qin Xian carried Qinyu. Qinyu could actually walk by herself, but with her father doting on her, the little girl didn't want to walk by herself. Qin Xian was also willing to dote on her. After walking into the restaurant and sitting down, Bai Anan realized that it was a candlelit restaurant. She looked at Qin Xian. Qin Xian flipped through the menu. It's the two children who want to eat. Bai Anan didn't say anything. She leaned back in the chair and listened to the pianist play the piano. Her side profile was very beautiful. Qin Xian looked up and saw her. He said hoarsely, "What do you want to eat?" Bai Anan turned around and smiled. "Anything." Qin Xian looked at her and then lowered his head to order a set meal for her and the two children based on his memory. There were only sporadic candlelight in the entire restaurant. The two children found it interesting and played with each other. Qin Xian kept looking at Bai Anan. She seemed to like the song very much and kept looking at it. They were sitting together. He didn't know how he managed to hold her hand. Bai Anan was shocked. She looked at him and instinctively wanted to pull her hand away. Qin Xian didn't let her and grabbed her slightly forcefully. He said in a low voice, "Don't move." "Qin Xian, what is this?" Bai Anan said in a low voice, "A candlelit dinner. Don't forget that you're a man with a girlfriend. It doesn't seem good to be ambiguous with your ex-wife." She still pulled her hand away. She was quite determined. Qin Xian didn't insist and took a sip of ice water. After that, Bai Anan ignored him and only cared about playing with her phone. Anyway, the two children were taken care of. Only the two children were happy during the meal. However, it was obvious that Qin Xian didn't intend to let her go. On the way back, he glanced at her and reminded her, "The children are asleep. Let's talk." Bai Anan didn't answer. She turned her face to the side. Obviously, she didn't want to pay attention to him. Qin Xian was a little unhappy, but he didn't say anything. When they arrived at the high-end apartment, he took Qin Shi to take a bath, and she helped Qin Yu take a bath. The two children played for a while and finally fell asleep. The house seemed particularly quiet. Qin Xian was wearing a bathrobe. When he walked to the living room, Bai Anan changed into a conservative set of home clothes. He thought she should be guarding against him. He smiled and sat beside her. Bai Anan held a glass of red wine in her hand and sipped it. She asked softly, "What do you want to say?" Her posture showed that she regarded him as a negotiation object, not a close person. She was full of defense. Qin Xian went over, knelt on one knee beside her, held her head before she resisted, and said in a low voice, "And, I want to ask you why you want to divorce." Bai Anan gave way, didn't let go, so he smiled. "For what divorce? It doesn't seem so important. Qin Xian, we have been separated for so long, and we have no feelings for each other. Let's look forward. Both sides are living a good life. There's no need to entangle each other, don't you think?" "No." He suddenly buried his head in her neck, and his voice was particularly hoarse. "And, tell me, am I a very bad husband? Are you disappointed with you, so you want to divorce?" Bai Anan lowered her head and looked at the man who was once very close and now strange. Her voice was a little hoarse. "What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear?" "Qin Xian, if we didn't have two children, we didn't have to contact each other at all. Besides, you have a girlfriend. Behave yourself. I don't want to be called a mistress." As she spoke, she struggled. He hugged her tightly and said in a low voice, "I broke up with her." "Just now. You broke up with a WeChat message?" Bai Anan said sarcastically, "You look quite pitiful." Qin Xian stared at her. "Are you blaming me for not treating others well?" Bai Anan looked down. "I'm not such a saint. What happened to young Master Qin has nothing to do with me." As soon as she finished speaking, he turned over, so fast that she couldn't resist. "Qin Xian, you're crazy." She pounded his back. "Do you know what you're doing? Our previous marriage was a failure enough. I don't want to do it again." However, no matter how powerful she was, it was nothing to him. After a long time, he was finally willing to let her go, and his voice seemed to be soaked in water. Anan, tell me, are you disappointed in me? Anan leaned against the back of the sofa, and after a while, she slapped him. Yes, I'm disappointed. After saying that, she burst into tears. Qin Xian, what are you doing? We're divorced, and I've never asked you if you have a girlfriend, nor have I seduced you. Why should I be with you again? Qin Xian's lips moved, and then he smiled bitterly. I can't deny that I have a girlfriend, and I can't deny that I want to be with you. Impossible. Anan calmed herself down and said hoarsely. Qin Xian took a tissue and wiped her tears. If you're angry with me, you can ignore me, but if I break up with my girlfriend, I'll chase you again and want to be with you. That's my business, right? Unless you don't let the child see me, how are you going to explain it to Qin Shi and Qin Yu? He analyzed with her very patiently. In the future, there will be many opportunities for us to be alone like this, and I can't be sure that I can control myself every time, so be good. Don't mess with me, let's take it slow this time, okay? Anan stared at him as if she was looking at a monster. He was going to have dinner with his girlfriend in the afternoon, and he was going to be with her again at night. He was crazy. Qin Xian looked at her expression and his heart ached. Did she really not have feelings for him? He couldn't help but bully her again. Anan was afraid that Qin Shi and Qin Yu would hear and come over, and she would inevitably be taken advantage of. In the end, she also lost control. She ran back to the master bedroom and closed the door. Qin Xian went to take a shower, and his expression was a little lazy. Instead of going back to the bedroom to sleep, he patiently knocked on Anan's door over and over again. Open the door, okay? I want to see you. Chapter 53-32. There were children sleeping at home, so his voice was rather soft. Anan ignored him. He also knew that he had gone overboard. She had always been rather arrogant, but this time around, she had suffered a huge loss in his hands. He felt that he was a scumbag, but he could not help but bully her. He just wanted to see that she still cared about him. Even if he hated her, he had to show some emotion. The way she cried just now was rather attractive. Just as he was about to give up, the door opened and Anan walked out with red eyes. Qin Xian went up to her. All right, don't cry. It's my fault. It won't happen again. Anan put on a jacket and was dressed casually. The high collar of her shirt covered her neck. She said softly, I'm going out for a while. Look after Qin Shi and Qin Yu. She was unbelievably calm. Qin Xian grabbed her. It's so late. Where are you going? To buy medicine, she said coldly. You can't be thinking of having a third child, right? Qin Xian said instinctively, if I have one, I'll give birth to it. I'm not your fertility machine, Anan said coldly. Qin Xian felt a stab of pain as he stared at her. Anan was in a bad mood. She pushed him away and was about to go out. Qin Xian pulled her back and said hoarsely, I'll go. With that said, he dragged her back and looked at her quietly for a while. I'll go change. Anan did not object and looked at him quietly. Qin Xian's slightly emotional heart cooled down again. No matter what, it was just wishful thinking on his part. There was no meaning in it. He walked out and looked at Anan. She was resting on the sofa, which had been cleaned up. His eyes darkened as he took the car keys. I'll be back in a while. Anan did not say anything and just looked at him quietly. Qin Xian went downstairs and got into the car. He sat down and smoked a few cigarettes, reminiscing about it for a while. They had not been husband and wife for a long time. Although it was only his idea, it had happened. It was reasonable for her to be angry at him. As he drove, he was a little against her taking the medicine, so he drove around a few times before he bought the medicine. When he brought it back, it was already 1 o'clock at night. Anan was lying on the ground, seemingly asleep. Qin Xian opened the door and saw her lying on the sofa. He suddenly remembered that when they were still husband and wife, she would occasionally lie on the sofa like this and wait for him to come home. He more or less had some perfume on him. He thought that as long as he didn't cross the line, it would be fine. Now that he thought about it, she really cared. He really wanted to know if she was only unhappy in that marriage. However, he couldn't bring himself to ask, fearing that her answer would pierce his heart. Qin Xian walked to the front of the sofa, squatted down, and said softly, "And?" Bai Anan slowly opened her eyes and looked at him. After a while, she seemed to remember something and shifted her expression a little defensively. He felt pain in his eyes. "I'll get you a glass of water." As he spoke, he got up to pour her a glass of water and sat beside her. While she was taking the medicine, he couldn't help but ask, "You really don't plan to keep the child?" Bai Anan looked at him and said hoarsely, "You're thinking too much." Qin Xian grabbed her hand. "Anything else, I won't force you for the time being." Bai Anan broke free and leaned weakly against the back of the sofa. She closed her eyes. "If I had known that you would do this, I wouldn't have let you stay. In the future. Qin Xian, you can't stay here overnight anymore. Are you afraid?" He leaned over and murmured. "Weren't you happy just now? After they divorced, she would be alone." He was quite sure. In his heart, he also felt that it was a pity. He shouldn't have let her go just like that. Bai Anan still closed her eyes. "If it weren't for Qin Shi and Qin Yu, I would definitely sue you to death and let you sit in jail for a long time." Qin Xian said hoarsely, "You're willing to?" "I'm willing," she said with certainty. He laughed softly and buried his face in her shoulder. "Then you can sue me next time. I can't guarantee that this will be the last time." Bai Anan was so angry that she reached out and slapped him. Her hand was caught by him. He stared at her and said very slowly, "Anan, I won't force you. At least, I won't do this again until you're willing." He didn't want her to keep taking medicine. Besides, what was the point of her not being willing? He was the only one who was happy. Bai Anan stretched out her foot and kicked him. "Get out of here now." Qin Xian chuckled and got up. "Okay, I'll go first." He could understand that she didn't want to see him. She said that she didn't send him to jail, and he knew that what she said was true. He had indeed behaved too badly. It could be considered coercion. Qin Xian adjusted his clothes and went to look at the child. He said, "Then I'll come back next week." He paused for a moment. "You can rest assured that I won't force you again." Bai Anan sat quietly alone. When he was about to open the door and leave, she whispered, "Qin Xian." His body froze and he turned around. "Is there anything else?" Bai Anan looked up at him and said softly, "You just want to know why I divorced you." "You guessed right. It's disappointment." Her eyes were calm. "I thought that marriage was mutual tolerance, so I was willing to tolerate you. Moreover, I'm 2 years older than you. I thought that I wouldn't do things that you didn't like. I would do my duty as a wife, and our marriage would be harmonious. You would cherish it, but you didn't. It was already very difficult for me to have a child, and I had Qin Yu. Those days when I was waiting for you to come home, I felt that it was like a year. When I was pregnant with a child, I always thought that my husband was having fun outside, and there was a girl who was younger and prettier than me in his arms. I changed so much for my marriage, but it was useless. So after giving birth to Qin Yu, I felt that I had to reduce my burden. At least, I wouldn't cry for you anymore." Qin Xian was stunned. Although he had already figured out the reason, he had never thought that she would be so sad. Bai Anan forced a smile. "Qin Xian, I'm really disappointed. I don't want to do it again." Qin Xian turned around and squatted in front of her. He said softly, "Nothing happened between me and those women. We were just socializing together. Perhaps those women would occasionally leave some perfume or lipstick marks on his shirt, but she would understand all of that. This was how socializing was. It was impossible for her to not see that kind of scene." Bai Anan looked down. "Qin Xian, you don't like that kind of occasion. You just don't care because you think that I won't care about this kind of thing after we get married, right?" Qin Xian was stunned. Bai Anan smiled. "See, it's like this. It's not that I haven't told you that I care, but your bottom line is different from mine, so we can't be together." He felt that it was natural for her to change from a strong woman to a housewife. How could there be such a logic in this world? Bai Anan wanted to leave him. She had thought about it for 2 years, and after that, her life wasn't too satisfactory. It was just that Qin Xian didn't care much, but she was very unhappy. Qin Xian raised his head to look at her. She was very calm, as if she was talking about an insignificant past. Qin Xian's voice was low and hoarse. Anan, it won't happen again. Bai Anan said mockingly, I know that your girlfriend will fight with you later on. Little young Master Qin will cultivate his character and not step into those occasions anymore. Qin Xian frowned. Bai Anan, you know that it's not like that. He wanted to say something else, but she didn't want to say anything more to him. She sat there quietly. Qin Xian still left, but he didn't drive away immediately. Instead, he sat in the car and smoked quietly. He thought that he must have missed her for the past 2 years. It was just that she had gone abroad, and his thoughts seemed to have faded. Qin Xian thought about it quietly. Slowly, he developed a determination to get her. Bai Anan sat on the sofa alone for a long time. In the days that followed, Qin Shi went to school and Qin Yu went to nursery. She started to invest with Liu Hong and would occasionally go to the law firm. There were 2 aunties at home who were both elders of the Bai family, so she was at ease. She slowly got busy with work. Although Qin Xian would come over, the chances of them seeing each other were much lesser. Often, he would come over just as she was about to go out, and by the time she came back, he would have already left. Occasionally, he would stay overnight to accompany the child. Bai Anan slowly forgot about that matter. After all, she didn't intend to have anything to do with him anymore. Until one day, when she was about to leave after drinking coffee with Sister Hong, a rather beautiful young lady sat beside her. Bai Anan knew her. She was the daughter of a certain family, and she was Qin Xian's ex-girlfriend. She ended up with Qin Xian's sudden change that day. The young lady said, Lawyer Bai, I want to talk to you. Sister Hong looked at the little lotus and couldn't help but say, Do you want me to stay and accompany you? Bai Anan shook her head and smiled. No need. Sister Hong looked at the young lady's weak appearance and thought that it would be fine, so she left. After Sister Hong left, Bai Anan looked at the young lady in front of her and smiled faintly. What's the matter? The young lady's eyes reddened. Lawyer Bai, can you return Qin Xian to me? Bai Anan took a sip of coffee. I didn't tie him to me, so how can I return him to you? He's single now, right? The young lady was the daughter of the Wen family, Wen Qi. She was also spoiled since childhood and liked Qin Xian very much. She lowered her eyes and said in a pleading voice, But ever since you came back, he obviously didn't look for me anymore. He even broke up with me. Bai Anan was amused. Little President Qin and I have 2 children together. Miss Wen, you won't ignore this little bit of kinship, right? Besides, it has nothing to do with me whether he's with or not. Wen Qi was so sad that she wanted to cry. But I saw him buying medicine for you in the middle of the night. You guys, she looked at Bai Anan and smiled gently. Lawyer Bai, you're the third party. Bai Anan rolled her eyes. Let Qin Xian explain it to you. What was this? She was the one who lost that night. Why didn't this woman look for Qin Xian but her, the victim? Moreover, Qin Xian obviously didn't treat her well. What was the point of pestering and stalking him at this time? Bai Anan couldn't be bothered with her. She picked up her handbag and was about to leave. You're not allowed to leave. Wen Qi called out to her with a strange expression on her face. Then, Bai Anan felt that her actions were strange and instinctively blocked her with her handbag. There was a scream in the coffee shop when she had splashed acid. Luckily, Bai Anan had blocked it with her handbag. However, 1 or 2 drops of acid splashed on her fair hand and she instantly felt immense pain. Wen Qi looked on in fear. The things in her hands fell to the ground as she mumbled, It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Bai Anan endured the pain and dialed 120. She then got the staff to restrain Wen Qi. She remained calm the entire time and finally dialed Qin Xian's number. Come over and settle the matter with your ex-girlfriend. I'm going to sue her. Wen Qi was stunned. What right do you have to sue me? Bai Anan covered her hand and said coldly, Because you've committed a crime. Wen Qi cried and threw a tantrum. However, the police came over very quickly. Qin Xian arrived almost at the same time. The moment Wen Qi saw Qin Xian, she started crying. Qin Xian, I didn't do it. I really didn't. Qin Xian came over and gently turned Bai Anan around. How's your hand? With so many people around, Bai Anan threw a slap over. Qin Xian, you're a slut. Wen Qi was stunned. She couldn't believe that her Prince Charming would be treated so rudely by another woman. Shouldn't it be Bai Anan who was trying to seduce Qin Xian? Qin Xian was slapped and sighed. He turned his head and looked at Wen Qi. See, I was the one who fell in love with someone else and wanted to reconcile with my ex-wife. Wen Qi still didn't want to believe it. Qin Xian said coldly, get a lawyer. With Bai Anan's personality, she was determined to kill Wen Qi. When Wen Qi was taken away, she was still crying and screaming. Qin Xian turned around and said, I'll take you to the hospital. Bai Anan covered her arm. No need, young Master Qin. He knew that she was angry, so he simply carried her to his car. Bai Anan slapped him a few times, but he didn't care too much. When they sat in the car, he grabbed her hand and looked at it. It wasn't a big problem. It was just a little bit, but it looked very painful. Qin Xian's voice was hoarse. Anan, it won't happen again. Bai Anan turned her head and said, Qin Xian, why am I the one who gets hurt every time you flirt with me? Do you think I'll still be willing to be with you? He looked at her quietly and said softly, I can wait. Bai Anan turned her face away, but she didn't want to listen anymore. Later, she went to the hospital. Qin Chen personally treated her to ensure that there would be no scars. After the treatment, he took her back. Bai Anan was a little tired, so she leaned against the back of the chair to rest. When she woke up, she found that she wasn't at her apartment, but somewhere else. Qin Xian unbuckled his seat belt and explained, this is the apartment I live in. Bai Anan wanted to get out of the car, but he gently held her down. It's best not to let Qin Shi and Qin Yu know that you're hurt. Bai Anan looked at him quietly. Don't you want to ruin your image in their hearts? Qin Xian actually smiled and looked at her. Bai Anan got out of the car and said, if you dare to do it again, I'll send you to prison to accompany Wen Qi. How ruthless. He chuckled. Bai Anan said as she walked, I'm not as ruthless as you. I think your little girlfriend is quite miserable. Chapter 53-33. Bai Anan ignored him and walked straight into the elevator. Qin Xian stood sideways and said after a while, Anan, let me talk to the Wen family, okay? She glanced at him. Are you pleading for me? Qin Xian sighed. No, it's my fault. If you don't like it, I won't go. Bai Anan looked at him for a while and said nothing else. Qin Xian's voice was a little hoarse. It's my fault. He couldn't even wait to get home and hugged her gently. Bai Anan struggled. Qin Xian, let me go. You're not like this. If she hadn't been smart today, she would have lost her face. He still wanted to talk to the Wen family. What to talk about? Talk about sending Wen Qi away, and then she wouldn't sue him? Bai Anan looked at Qin Xian and sneered. I'm telling you, don't even think about it. Qin Xian was pushed away. He leaned against the wall of the elevator and smiled gently. How could I not know your character? During the years of marriage, she must have had a hard time tolerating him. Bai Anan was cold. After a while, she whispered, it's good that you know. Qin Xian didn't mention that matter again. When he got home, Bai Anan was sitting on the sofa dealing with things. He looked at her and knocked on the coffee table. Bai Anan, your hand is injured. It has nothing to do with you. She said softly and continued to finish what she was doing. Qin Xian couldn't do anything to her. He poured a glass of water for her. I'm going to cook. She was quite surprised that the young master actually knew how to cook. She sat in his high-class apartment and guessed how many girlfriends he had brought over to stay. Probably guessing what she was thinking, Qin Xian said lightly, none of them. You're thinking too much. Bai Anan shrugged and didn't say anything. She just turned on the TV. Qin Xian rarely cooked, but the dishes he made were not bad. They ate quietly and cleaned up. Bai Anan wanted to rest, but Qin Xian stopped her. Let's talk. She looked at him and said in a low voice, about what? Qin Xian's voice was hoarse. In the future. Bai Anan still wanted to say something, but he said indifferently, Wen Qi and I haven't reached that point yet. The little girl doesn't understand. He looked at her and whispered, Anan, if it was before, I would never be soft-hearted, but now let her go once. It's not good for you for her to go to jail. Anan broke free from him and stood in front of the French window. She quietly looked at the night sky. Qin Xian, is that all you want to say to me? What if I don't? Are you going to hire a top-notch lawyer and go against me for her? Qin Xian shook his head. But I will feel guilty. He went over and gently pressed her shoulder from behind. I can make up for my guilt to you, but if she goes to jail for 10 years because of me, I am not willing to make up for it. Anan's eyes were a little red. So, Qin Xian, you want me to suffer this grievance for you? I'm sorry. He put his chin on her shoulder and said softly, Anan, let her go once, just for me. Anan looked into the distance and said softly, is your condition that the Wen family will never let her return to China again? Qin Xian, are you afraid of the revenge of the Wen family? Yes. He pondered and said, she won't be in prison for the rest of her life. There are other people in the Wen family. Anan, you are not alone. We have 2 children. He gently hugged her. It's my fault to put you in danger, but I'm more afraid that such a strong way will make the Wen family desperate. Anan didn't say anything, and her shoulders trembled a little. He hugged her and said a lot of sorry. In fact, it was his fault. It was his fault that day. Otherwise, Wen Qi wouldn't have done such a thing. Anan calmed down and reached out to push him away. Qin Xian, I can let her go, on the condition that she can never appear in the country, but I have another condition, that is, you should stay away from me, the farther the better. After saying that, she went to the guest room. Qin Xian was left sitting on the back of the sofa alone, smoking. He understood how unfair such a decision was to Anan. She was a lawyer, and she was also a victim. But he made such a decision to persuade her. Qin Xian sat for half the night and smoked 2 packs of cigarettes. In the middle of the night, Anan came out to drink water and pretended not to see him. Qin Xian smiled bitterly. This time, she probably hated him to the core. Anan only stayed there for 1 night before leaving. When she left, Qin Xian was in the study talking on the phone. She left just like that without saying a word. When Qin Xian heard about it, he would know what she meant. 3 days later, Qin Xian brought Wen Qi and Wen Qi's parents to apologize to Anan. Anan came out of the law firm and looked at them with a faint smile. You don't have to apologize. Just look after little President Qin. Wen Qi's parents were a little uncomfortable. Wen Qi's mother smiled. Lawyer Bai, actually, Wen Qi and Qin Xian are just ordinary boyfriend and girlfriend. Anan interrupted rudely. I don't know if they're ordinary or not, but they both harmed me. Logically speaking, they should go to jail together. You don't have to apologize. Just stay away from me in the future. Wen Qi was really scared after a few days. She came over and whispered, Lawyer Bai, I know you won't believe me no matter what I say. But, Qin Xian really likes you. Anan looked at Qin Xian and smirked coldly. Pausing for a moment, she said, is that so? Then, I'm sorry. Next time, remember to splash something on that scumbag. I'm innocent too. After saying that, she got into her car and drove away. Wen Qi's parents were embarrassed. However, they were glad that the other party had let their daughter go. After scolding her a little more, Wen Qi, who was a spoiled little girl, burst into tears. Qin Xian was annoyed and said goodbye indifferently. Wen Qi stopped him and asked softly, Qin Xian, you've been waiting for her all this time, haven't you? Qin Xian was stunned for a moment. After a long time, he smiled faintly. But, she doesn't want me anymore. She called him a scumbag. Thinking about it, he was indeed quite a scumbag. Qin Xian drove away and caught up with Anan. While driving, Anan listened to the phone on her Bluetooth. She didn't know what she was talking to someone, but she smiled gently. When she inadvertently saw Qin Xian, who was driving alongside, her face immediately darkened. Qin Xian smiled. Are we having dinner together? Anan placed her hand on the car window. I have a date with a little fresh meat. Qin Xian was infuriated. Anan stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Just like that, they were at a stalemate. Anyway, Bai Anan didn't care about him anymore. On the other hand, Master Cheng and Sister Hong seemed to have reconciled. Initially, it was a mess because Master Cheng always taught little Yu Yu how to use vulgarities. Sister Hong didn't allow him to come, but he still taught him. In the end, little Yu Yu actually started to use vulgarities. When he opened his mouth, Sister Hong was stunned. Master Cheng said that it was his credit, and no one could take it away. He taught little Yu Yu every day, and little Yu Yu learned every day. Later on, Sister Hong decided to accept Master Cheng. Now that Master Cheng had a wife, he was much more restrained. He also became more refined and put on an act. Sometimes, when he saw Qin Xian alone, he would sneer at him, making little young Master Qin extremely angry. Unknowingly, half a year had passed. Qin Xian had no one by his side and his heart was with Bai Anan. Everyone in the Qin family could tell that they sympathized with him. At that time, he was so decisive during the divorce. Now, he was cozying up to her and she didn't care about him. It was said that Bai Anan was surrounded by many young and good-looking boys. She was also rich and lived a happy life. In the Qin family's mansion, Qin Xian was wearing a white casual outfit and flipping through a magazine. Qin Yi Huan was beside him and smiled. "Why aren't you going to see Qin Shi and Qin Yu?" Qin Xian smiled faintly. They went to Grandpa and Grandma's house. Qin Yi Huan laughed. "Then you can look for Bai Anan." Qin Xian didn't say anything. Yi Huan went over and placed her hand on his. "What's wrong, brother?" Qin Xian looked outside and said calmly, "She's angry with me. Later, after what happened to Wenqi, she probably looks down on me." Qin Yi Huan nodded understandingly. "That's true. If I were a woman, I would be angry too. Even if your choice was very good, it was still wrong. She was hurt by Wenqi because of you. Fortunately, she was fine. If something had happened, Anan's life would." Qin Xian tilted his head. "I don't want her and I to bear the burden of another person's life in the future, so I would rather let Wenqi go." He paused for a moment. "If I don't want to be with Anan, Wenqi will never be able to get out of prison." Yi Huan clicked her tongue a few times. "What's the use of being ruthless to me? You're like a little wolf dog in front of Anan. I heard that she always slaps you in the face, right? I also heard that you bought her medicine in the middle of the night. You forced her, right? I think she looks down on you very much." Qin Xian was angry. "Yi Huan, don't go too far." Qin Yi Huan was not afraid of him. She clicked her tongue a few times. "I'm just telling the truth." Qin Xian said in a cold voice, "I'll go back first." Yi Huan called him, "Wait a minute." Qin Xian turned his head. "What else can I do?" Qin Yi Huan went over and smiled. "Brother, in fact, Anan used to love you very much. Be patient. A broken heart needs to be made up slowly." Qin Xian's voice was hoarse. "How do you know she loves me?" Yi Huan hugged him. "Because Ms. Anan is not a person who will settle for the next best thing. She will not make do with it. She is willing to marry you because she really loves you. I thought you knew it before, and I thought you loved her very much and knew her very well. But it's a pity that you let go so easily. Don't let go again this time. A woman's heart can't stand being hurt again." Qin Xian's voice was hoarse. "Really?" Yi Huan said, "A woman always knows a woman better. Brother, she is a good woman. You let her down in the past. Don't hold your identity as a rich man anymore. You can't get a woman. You see, Yi Xiangnan didn't wait to see Su Mu before. Isn't it nice now?" Qin Xian smiled and left. He got into the car and couldn't help calling Bai Anan. "Where are you?" Bai Anan was as businesslike as before. "At my parents' house." "Do you want to see Qin Shi and Qin Yu?" Qin Xian said, "My parents want to see them. Shall I pick you up now?" Bai Anan had a good relationship with Qin Mo and He Huan. Besides, children always needed the love of their elders, so she agreed. "Okay." Qin Xian didn't go there empty-handed. He bought some gifts for Bai Shueli and Yi Mulin and brought them to the Yi family. Yi Mulin said lightly, "You don't have to bring anything." Qin Xian smiled. "It's just a small token of my appreciation." He took turns to hug the children. Qin Shi was quite close to him, But Qin Yu was at odds with him again. She hid beside Bai Xueli and refused to come out. Bai Anan carried Qin Yu to the car, and Qin Shi followed. Qin Xian then had a private conversation with the head of the Yi family. Yi Mulin could naturally see through Qin Xian's thoughts. He said lightly, "You and Anan tried once and failed. Actually, you don't have to force yourself anymore. Our family has also introduced a few good candidates to Anan. Qin Xian, you are a good candidate. Don't waste your time on Anan." Qin Xian felt a chill in his heart. He endured it and asked softly, "She said that?" Yi Mulin was still indifferent. "If she wanted to, she would have been with you long ago. It has been so long, hasn't it? Besides, what you did last time was wrong. Although Anan is not spoiled, she is still the apple of our eyes. You can't ruin her like this." Qin Xian apologized in a low voice. Yi Mulin said again, "No matter how much we object, it still depends on Anan. So you don't have to please us." This was a very rude remark. Qin Xian accepted it silently. When he got into the car, he was in a bad mood. However, he still looked at Bai Anan with a faint smile. "Go buy some ingredients. We'll barbecue in the yard tonight. The children love it." The servants at home had already prepared these things. However, he still brought the children to buy some of their favorite food and filled the trunk. When they arrived at the Qin family, the children had a great time. Yi Huan looked for Bai Anan and chatted about things that women liked. She had a good relationship with Bai Anan. It was a miracle. At night, it was cold in the yard. The children put on extra clothes. Bai Anan sat on the lounge chair, grilling chicken wings gently. She had just finished grilling them when someone snatched them away. She looked up and saw Qin Xian sitting beside her, eating the chicken wings that she had grilled. She looked at him silently for a long time before saying softly, "Boring." Qin Xian ate one quickly and took the things in her hands to grill for her. He then said softly, "Your father said that you are on a blind date." She nodded but did not deny it. Qin Xian leaned closer. "Have you found someone suitable?" Bai Anan shifted. "It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you." "How can it not have anything to do with me?" He smiled. "I have to see if she's better than me. Otherwise, you'll be at a disadvantage." She could not stand his shamelessness and snorted coldly. "What about you? I haven't seen you find anyone good either." After they parted, Qin Xian's girlfriends seemed to be the same. They were pure, cute, obedient. Others did not know his dark thoughts, but she knew them clearly. They were easy to control. Only he could dump them, and it would never be the girl who dumped him. Bai Anan said viciously, "Qin Xian, how unconfident are you?" Qin Xian raised his brows. "How could you not know whether I'm confident or not?" He then said in a deep voice, "Don't think of me as a playboy. Even though I can't say that I've been chaste for the past few years, I haven't been messing around. It was mainly because he chose. His ex-wife was such a beautiful woman. Few women could move his heart. Finding a girlfriend was just to have a meal together when he had time. That was why he felt that it was indeed his fault to let Wen Qi go to prison for 10 years. Bai Anan did not say anything. She looked at the fire quietly. Qin Xian said in a low voice, "Anan, let's start over, okay?" Bai Anan half lay down. "I'm not interested." After that, she looked at him up and down. "Young Master Qin, you're just like this." For someone who had the best time of his life, she had eaten a big meal, so she did not miss it so much. Besides, a divorced woman would not be so impulsive. There were many good-looking men, and there were many more considerate and obedient than him. She had her own money, so why should she choose him? Bai Anan was a pragmatic person. When she walked out of the siege, she knew it very well. As for that night, she did not feel any pressure. How could a 35-year-old woman care about this? Qin Xian squinted his eyes and stared at her. Bai Anan smiled. "Qin Xian, I'm just tired. I'm not saying I'm sorry. I don't have to turn back just because you turn back." Qin Xian looked at her quietly. "All right, I can wait." Qin Yi Huan, who was at the side, heard it and held back her laughter. That was because Bai Anan had not found the person. If she had found him, Qin Xian would have gone crazy. She did not believe that he could still be so gentlemanly. Bai Anan did not say anything and continued to look at the fire quietly. Another 6 months passed. She went on blind dates 2 or 3 times and had meals and coffee with 1 or 2 of them. After that, there was no after. After work, she went shopping with Sister Hong. Sister Hong was in a good mood because Yu had learned a lot of lyrics recently. Bai Anan asked as she walked, "Then why are you and Cheng Zheng not married? After so many years, I see that he is wholeheartedly devoted to you. His previous bad habits are all gone. Such an impressive man is like a big cat in front of you." Sister Hong glanced at her and smiled. "Don't talk about me. What about you? Aren't you the same? You dragged it on with Qin Xian for so long." Bai Anan smiled faintly. "We are different from you guys. We don't live together. We just see each other occasionally. I don't have that kind of thought." Sister Hong patted her hand. "But Qin Xian has that kind of thought. Your family and his family probably think the same, right? Everyone knows about it. You guys meet each other openly. You say you don't have any thoughts." Bai Anan said softly, "So what? Never to see him again. Qin Shi and Qin, you still like him very much. It's not like I can conjure a father out of thin air." Sister Hong asked a little nosily, "Did he take advantage of you again?" Bai Anan looked at Sister Hong reproachfully. "No." Sister Hong laughed. Bai Anan said faintly, "Actually, he doesn't have that kind of thought. Sometimes, it's not bad. I don't want to marry him, so it's better not to touch him." Sister Hong was about to speak, but she saw someone behind her and immediately shut up. She signaled to Bai Anan with her eyes. Bai Anan didn't receive it and said softly, "Look at him. What's wrong with my appearance?" A voice sounded. Bai Anan was startled. Qin Xian was dressed in a suit and there were a few assistants behind him. They obviously heard it and looked uncomfortable. Bai Anan tilted her head. "I'm not talking about you. Little President Qin, don't think too highly of yourself." He stared at her for a long time and said softly, "I still have something to do. We'll talk later." After that, he left with a group of people as if nothing had happened. Sister Hong smiled happily. Bai Anan complained, "You didn't remind me." "I did. It's you who didn't notice." Sister Hong couldn't help but praise, "Qin Xian is really good looking. It's mainly because he's still young. I think he's even more handsome than Yi Xiangnan from the Yi family. No wonder you still miss him. He's simply irreplaceable. Look at old Cheng, that rough man. If he did something like Qin Xian, wouldn't you send him to prison for the rest of his life?" Bai Anan could tell that Sister Hong was deliberately teasing her. She snorted coldly. "Cheng Zheng must have done something like that. Isn't he still fine now?" Sister Hong laughed bitterly. After a long time, she said, "Anan, let's go have a drink." Although she and Cheng Zheng were together, the wound in her heart was still there. She thought that Bai Anan was the same. The two women really went to drink. They even picked the best bar in B City and booked the whole place, leaving a few good-looking and young boys behind. This news was quickly reported to Master Cheng by Xiao Mao. "Master Cheng, sister-in-law is drinking." Master Cheng waved his hand. "With your sister-in-law's personality, it's nothing to drink a little." Xiao Mao swallowed his saliva. Sister-in-law and lawyer Bai left a few good boys behind. Master Cheng immediately slammed the table and stood up. "What? Let's go now." Xiao Mao went forward to appease him. "Master Cheng, you can't do that. Think about it, sister-in-law just wants to be happy. If you meddle so much, sister-in-law will be unhappy. If she's unhappy, she'll shut you out." Xiao Mao said and looked at his boss eagerly. Master Cheng touched his chin and nodded. "That's true." He looked at Xiao Mao. "How about this, you keep a close eye on them. If anyone dares to touch your sister-in-law, chop off their claws." Xiao Mao swallowed his saliva. What if it was sister-in-law who made a move on him? Master Cheng immediately exploded. "Your sister-in-law is only interested in me." Xiao Mao touched his nose. "All right, I'll watch." Master Cheng paced back and forth for a few steps before saying, "Forget it, if your sister-in-law wants to be touchy, then just let her be. Just don't go overboard. If she goes overboard, Then just throw those gigolos out. Do you hear me? Throw them out. Xiao Maro laughed in his heart and quickly went out to do his work. Master Cheng smoked his cigar alone. After a while, he thought of something important and immediately called little President Qin. Your wife went out to drink. Your wife still has good-looking young boys. Your wife is touching them again. Qin Xian was in a meeting. When he heard it, he rubbed his forehead, which was throbbing in pain. He put down the phone and said calmly, "Let's talk about it tomorrow." After that, he got up and drove to the bar. On the other side, Master Cheng touched his head proudly and lit a cigar. Who would dare to say that I'm not smart in the future? I've even learned to kill people with a borrowed knife. On the other side, when Qin Xian arrived at the bar, Sister Hong and Bai Anan had a little too much to drink. The two rich women certainly had a lot of fun and did a lot of things with their hands and feet. Qin Xian felt a little sour in his heart. He walked over and said, "Anan, let's go back." Bai Anan leaned against the back of the chair and smiled. "Qin Xian?" He suppressed his anger. "Fortunately, you still recognize me." Bai Anan tilted her head and smiled in a low voice. "How much do you pay for an hour?" He came over and reached out to carry her. He said to Sister Hong, "I'll take her away." This was Master Cheng's territory. Even if Sister Hong fell asleep, these people would not dare to touch a single hair on her, so he was quite relieved. Bai Anan put her arms around his neck. Qin Xian asked as they walked, "Did you get drunk on purpose?" She shook her head and happily said no. After a while, she said that the young man's hands were so smooth and tender. He simply could not listen to it anymore. Bai Anan. She blinked her eyes. "Qin Xian, I'm a 35-year-old rich woman who lost her marriage. What's wrong with me looking for some fun for myself?" For a moment, he did not know what to say. He was the cause of her losing her marriage. His voice was hoarse. "If you want to have fun, you can look for me." Bai Anan put her arms around his neck and said very slowly, "Qin Xian, you're 33 years old. Your skin has lost its elasticity and you're old." She buried her head in his neck and giggled. "Young men all call me little sister. Qin Xian, can you call me that too?" He was sure that she was really drunk. He reached out and patted her as a punishment. His voice was hoarse. Bai Anan. She was drunk and refused to let go of his neck. She was even touching him. Qin Xian pressed her against the car door and asked dangerously, "Do you know who I am?" "A good-looking young man." She leaned on his shoulder and giggled. Her long hair spread all the way to her waist. At that moment, Qin Xian was a little drunk. He brushed aside her hair and said hoarsely, "Bai Anan, you said that you were looking for someone. Have you found him?" She shook her head and put her arms around his neck. "How much money do you have?" Qin Xian was so angry that he turned his handsome face to the side. She was still smiling. She leaned on his shoulder and said softly, "Do you want to go to your house or mine?" Qin Xian was about to go crazy. "Bai Anan." Her voice was as sweet as honey. "I don't want to go back, His voice was so low that it was ridiculous. Bai Anan said softly, "I don't want to wait for Qin Xian at home. Let's go to your house, shall we?" Qin Xian's heart ached. He stroked her face gently. She still held a grudge against him, didn't she? Therefore, she didn't forgive him and didn't want to be with him. She didn't care that he had a girlfriend, but there seemed to be a little girl living in her heart. She hated him and hated him. Qin Xian suddenly got over it and said softly, "I'll take you home." He carefully put her in the car and went around to fasten her seatbelt. He called her aunt at home and drove back to his apartment. Bai Anan drank too much and didn't behave well when she was drunk. Qin Xian was busy for a long time before he finally coaxed her to sleep. It was rare that he didn't take advantage of her. At dawn, she woke up and struggled to open her eyes to see everything around her. It was Qin Xian's house. Reaching out, he found his phone by the pillow. Looking at it, there were several missed calls, one of which was from his parents. Yi Mulin asked her if she was with Qin Xian. She was a little confused. After a long time, she said, "I drank too much and don't remember." "I think so." After saying that, she looked at her body. It was Qin Xian's black shirt. Bai Anan lay back down and acted coquettishly to her father. I'll be back in a while. Yi Mulin hung up the phone. She lay down and calmed down. She carefully thought about whether she had lost her composure last night. Qin Xian appeared at the door and said calmly, "You drank too much last night. Get up and eat some breakfast. Otherwise, your stomach won't feel good." Bai Anan grabbed her waist-length black hair. Qin Xian stared at her for a long time before he whispered hoarsely, "Get up." She replied and got up. The next second, Qin Xian immediately turned around. She really didn't know how much of a test it was for her to wear a man's shirt and have waist-length hair. Bai Anan went to wash her face and randomly picked his pants to wear. She found a thin belt to tie it up. She didn't feel too restrained. Anyway, they were husband and wife, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. She didn't put on makeup and looked so simple, but she was more attractive than usual. Qin Xian really wanted to hug her, but he only dared to think about it. During breakfast, she couldn't help but ask, "How much did I spend there yesterday?" Qin Xian glanced at her. "More than 300,000 yuan. Bai Anan replied, "It's quite expensive there. Singing a song costs 10,000 yuan. What a scam." Qin Xian couldn't help but ask, "You only sang a song?" Bai Anan looked puzzled. "I spent my money. It has nothing to do with you." Qin Xian said patiently, "Don't forget your identity and your brother's current position. Pay attention to your image." Bai Anan took a sip of porridge. After a while, she said softly, "That's Master Cheng's territory. No one will see. Next time, bring Yi Huan with you." Qin Xian knocked on the table. "Bai Anan, do you need a man to accompany you that much?" She blinked. "I'm single. Is there anything wrong with that?" He was so angry that he ignored her. After breakfast, he went to the study. Bai Anan was still a little dizzy. She didn't want to go back and let Qin Shi and Qin Yu see her like this, so she watched TV at his home. Qin Xian finished his work and walked out. When he saw that she was still there, he couldn't help but say, "Don't you need a young man to accompany you? What are you doing at an old man's place?" Bai Anan replied with an "Oh" and turned off the TV. She slowly got up and went back to the guest room. After a while, she came out with her bag and was about to leave. Qin Xian stopped her. "Bai Anan." Bai Anan kicked him. "Qin Xian, do you really think you can control me?" After saying that, she was about to leave again. He was anxious and hooked her waist from behind. "Bai Anan, try it." Bai Anan struggled, but couldn't break free. He leaned over and said coldly, "You dare to treat me like this because you're sure that I like you, and you're sure that I can't let go of you, right? If you were to find someone better than me, I wouldn't care about you. But you're so illiterate, learning to drink and even looking for someone to accompany you." He was cold, but Bai Anan's voice was even colder. "Qin Xian, isn't this the life you liked in the past? Why are you still double standards now? Besides, we're not in a relationship now. You don't have to care about me." She stepped on his foot and was about to leave, but the corners of her eyes were already secretly red. Qin Xian hugged her from behind and said hoarsely, "You really know how to torture me." He carried her back and placed her on the sofa. Bai Anan's expression wasn't good. He raised his head and looked at her. His tone softened. "If you can't drink, then don't drink. You're deliberately making things difficult for yourself and others, aren't you?" With these words, he actually swallowed the matter back down. Bai Anan lowered her head and looked at him. Her eyes were still red. Qin Xian said, "I know you're feeling bad, but Anan, even if you ruin yourself, don't change yourself. Don't change yourself for me." She was good, really good. He was the one who didn't deserve her. Yi Huan was right, he was the one who let her down. She was such a good woman, but he had still let her down. He had ignored her feelings. Bai Anan turned her head. "Qin Xian, you don't have to say that. Last night was the real me," she said softly. "I'm 35 years old. I'm not an innocent little girl. I can take responsibility for what happened." He was stunned. Bai Anan smiled. "Right. You don't understand women at all, and you don't understand me either. I'm not bound by feelings. Do you think I'll keep my chastity for you? No, just like what happened between us back then. If I have a boyfriend in the future, I won't feel sorry for him because I've never cheated on him. Qin Xian's heart was bleeding. He thought that she had been soft-hearted for the past 6 months. At the end of the day, she really didn't mind finding a young and good-looking man to accompany her. He said hoarsely, "If you want to find someone, why don't you consider me?" Bai Anan was shocked. She wanted to say something, but he had already lowered his head. His voice was a little pained. "Anan, don't torture me like this." He still didn't do anything to her because he couldn't bear to. He hugged her and said with a pained voice, "I just want to tell you that if you can't find that person, I'll always be here." Bai Anan listened blankly, feeling a little unreal. After a long time, she said hoarsely, "Qin Xian, it took me all of a sudden. It's really hard for me to like you again. It's really hard for me to let go of the past and be with you again." "I know." He hugged her and said softly. His arms were a little warm. She wanted to resist, but she couldn't. Qin Xian kissed her forehead. "I'll go cook." She didn't make a sound, but she didn't move either. He went to cook and ate with her. In the afternoon, she took a nap while he worked. In the evening, when she wanted to leave, he sent her home and accompanied Qin Shi and Qin Yu. At the same time, he stayed. He stayed by her side obediently for 2 years. He didn't dare to think about anything else. He just accompanied her. When she drank with Sister Hong, he took the initiative to carry her home. He didn't dare to act recklessly even once. Later, Sister Hong and Master Cheng got married. At the wedding, Master Cheng cried so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. He said that he would treat his wife well for the rest of his life. He almost knelt down. Bai Anan watched quietly and felt that it was quite fireworks. After the wedding, Qin Xian came to pick her up. At that time, Bai Anan was already 37 years old, and Qin Xian was 35 years old. It had been 2 years since she got drunk last time. Bai Anan walked out of the hotel and saw Qin Xian standing in front of a black car. When he saw her come out, he took off his coat and put it on her. "Are you okay?" Bai Anan followed his action and got into the car. Cheng Zheng cried quite badly. Many people took pictures. He got into the car and she showed him the phone. Qin Xian seemed a little absent-minded. He grabbed her hand for a while. Bai Anan raised an eyebrow. "What's wrong?" Qin Xian looked at her quietly. "Anan, have you found that person in the past 2 years?" Bai Anan smiled. "Not yet." He took the phone away and held her face. "Then do you want to think about me again?" She didn't say anything and just looked back at him. Qin Xian spread her hair and sighed. "Anan, today is my birthday. I'm 35 years old." Bai Anan asked him softly, "Have you found that person?" He smiled. "I found him." After saying that, he took out a small box from the pocket of her coat. Lawyer Bai, birthday present. End. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.